Nicholas Williams steps into the dimly lit alien market, his eyes scanning the bustling crowd. The air reeks of desperation and illicit dealings. He's not here for pleasure or profit, but to dismantle a slave trafficking ring that's been terrorizing human colonies. The Denobulan system's black market sprawls before him, a hub of interstellar crime. Nicholas adjusts his worn leather jacket, playing the part of a rugged spaceship captain. His hand rests near his concealed weapon as he moves through the throng of alien species. Shouts and jeers erupt from a nearby platform. Nicholas turns, his gaze falling on a beautiful Denobulan female. Her azure skin glistens under harsh lights as an auctioneer barks out bids. The sight makes his blood boil, but he maintains his composure. This is why he's here. Nicholas raises his hand, joining the bidding. Credits flow as he competes against other buyers, driving the price higher. With a final exorbitant bid, he secures the sale. The Denobulan woman, Tara, is brought to him, her eyes downcast. As they leave the market, Tara walks silently beside him. Nicholas leads her to his ship, the Starfire, docked in a nearby hangar. Once aboard, he secures the airlock and initiates launch sequences. "You're safe now," Nicholas says, turning to face Tara. He reaches for her slave collar, deactivating it with practiced ease. Tara flinches, confusion etched on her features. "I don't understand. You bought me for—" "No," Nicholas interrupts, his voice firm but kind. "I'm an undercover agent, part of a human task force fighting to end slavery across the galaxy." Disbelief clouds Tara's eyes, quickly replaced by a flicker of hope. Nicholas continues, explaining his mission and humanity's commitment to freedom. Tara listens, her posture gradually relaxing. As they talk, Tara reveals her knowledge of the slave trade's inner workings. She knows key players, locations of major operations. It's the breakthrough Nicholas has been seeking. A sudden beep interrupts their conversation. Nicholas's communication panel flashes urgently. His handlers demand an update, unaware of his recent actions. Nicholas hesitates, looking from the panel to Tara. He's torn between his duty and the promise of safety he's made. The information Tara possesses could bring down the entire network, but reporting now might jeopardize her security. With a decisive motion, Nicholas disables the ship's tracking systems. He turns to Tara, determination set in his jaw. "We're going off-grid. Your safety comes first. We'll gather more intel before reporting back." As the Starfire vanishes into the vast expanse of space, Nicholas knows he's risking everything. His career, his mission, perhaps even his life. But as he looks at Tara, now free from her collar and the horrors she's endured, he knows it's worth it. This is what humanity stands for: justice, freedom, and the willingness to fight for what's right, no matter the cost. The Starfire glided silently through the void, its engines humming at low power to avoid detection. Nicholas sat at the helm, his fingers dancing across the control panel as he plotted a course away from the Denobulan system. He glanced at Tara, who stood nearby, her azure skin reflecting the soft glow of the ship's instruments. "We're entering a remote sector," Nicholas explained, his voice low. "It should keep us off the radar for now." Tara nodded, her eyes fixed on the starfield beyond the view screen. "Thank you," she said softly. I never thought I'd be free again." Nicholas offered a reassuring smile. "You're safe now, but I need to know everything you can tell me about the slave trade. Any information could help us bring it down." As they traveled deeper into uncharted space, Tara began to open up. She spoke of her life before captivity, her work as a respected scientist on her home planet. Nicholas listened intently, piecing together the puzzle of her past. "They wanted me for my knowledge of advanced energy systems," Tara explained, her voice tinged with bitterness. "It made me valuable." Suddenly, Tara stumbled, her hand flying to her head. Nicholas was at her side in an instant, steadying her. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern etching his features. Tara's eyes were unfocused, her breathing labored. "The collar, it was more than just a restraint. It pumped us full of drugs, kept us compliant." Nicholas cursed under his breath. He should have anticipated this. "Come on," he said, guiding her toward the ship's medical bay. "Let's get you treated." In the sterile white room, Nicholas worked swiftly, his hands sure as he administered a cocktail of human medicines designed to counteract the alien drugs. Tara watched in amazement as the tremors in her hands subsided, her mind clearing. "Your medical technology is impressive," she remarked, flexing her fingers. Nicholas shrugged. "We've had to adapt quickly out here in space. Now, while you're feeling better, can you tell me more about the slave trade's operations?" Tara's expression hardened. "There's a major processing facility on a nearby moon. It's where they prepare new slaves for sale. I overheard the guards talking about it." Nicholas's eyes widened. This was exactly the kind of information he needed. "Can you guide us there?" Tara hesitated, fear flashing across her face. But then she nodded, commitment setting in. "Yes, I can." Hours later, the Starfire touched down on the dark side of a desolate moon. Nicholas activated the ship's stealth systems, a marvel of human engineering that rendered them virtually invisible to sensors. "Stay close," Nicholas whispered as they disembarked. Tara nodded, her eyes wide as she took in the looming silhouette of the processing facility. They moved silently across the rocky terrain, using advanced scanner technology to avoid patrols. As they neared the facility, the true scale of the operation became apparent. Hundreds of beings from various species were held in cramped cells, awaiting processing and sale. Nicholas felt a familiar anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. They needed to gather evidence, not start a firefight. Using Tara's knowledge of the facility's layout, they made their way to a control room. Tara's fingers flew across the alien console, her scientific background proving invaluable as she bypassed security protocols. "I'm in," she whispered triumphantly. "Downloading all data on sector-wide operations now." Nicholas kept watch, his hand resting on his weapon. But as the download neared completion, a red light began flashing on the console. "Silent alarm," Tara hissed. "We need to move." They raced through the corridors, the sound of heavy footsteps echoing behind them. As they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with a group of armed guards. Nicholas reacted instantly, his body moving with fluid grace as he engaged the first guard. His fist connected with alien flesh, his enhanced strength sending opponents flying. Beside him, Tara surprised him by holding her own, using her knowledge of the facility to activate security doors, trapping several guards. They fought their way back to the Starfire, adrenaline pumping through their veins. But as they neared the ship, a stray energy blast caught Nicholas in the side. He stumbled, gritting his teeth against the pain. Tara half dragged him into the ship, sealing the airlock behind them. She helped him to the pilot's seat, her hands shaking as she activated the launch sequence. "Enemy ships incoming," she reported, her voice tense. Nicholas nodded, fighting through the pain. "Take the weapons. I'll fly." To his amazement, Tara handled the Starfire's advanced weapons with unexpected skill. Her shots were precise, keeping their pursuers at bay as Nicholas piloted them out of the moon's atmosphere and into open space. Once they were clear, Tara turned her attention to Nicholas's wound. Her touch was gentle as she applied a healing salve, her face close to his. For a moment, their eyes met, and Nicholas felt an unexpected surge of attraction. But before either could speak, the ship's communication panel lit up with an urgent message. Nicholas's superiors were demanding his immediate return. Nicholas looked at Tara, then at the data they'd risked everything to obtain. He knew what his orders would be, but he also knew what was right. "Tara," he said, his voice low, "what do you think we should do?" Tara met his gaze, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and drive. The decision they made now would shape not just their futures, but potentially the fate of countless slaves across the galaxy. Tara met Nicholas's gaze, her eyes reflecting a mix of drive and uncertainty. After a moment of silent communication, Nicholas nodded, his decision made. "We can't go back," he said, his voice low but firm. "Not yet. This information is too valuable to risk." Tara's shoulders relaxed slightly, relief evident in her expression. "Agreed, but where do we go from here?" Nicholas turned to the ship's navigation system, his fingers flying over the controls. "There's a neutral space station not far from here. Outpost Zeta 9, we can regroup there, plan our next move." As the Starfire changed course, Nicholas became acutely aware of their dwindling resources. The unexpected detour to the slave processing facility had taken its toll on their fuel and supplies. The journey to Outpost Zeta 9 was tense. Both Nicholas and Tara hyper-aware of every passing ship, every blip on the radar. When they finally docked, Nicholas let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Outpost Zeta 9 bustled with activity, a melting pot of alien races and cultures. As they disembarked, Nicholas pulled Tara close, speaking in a hushed tone. "Stay alert. We need to blend in." They moved through the crowded corridors, taking in the sights and sounds of the station. Alien merchants hawked their wares, the air thick with the scent of exotic foods and the buzz of a dozen different languages. Nicholas led them to a small kiosk, using the last of his credits to secure a private room. It was tiny and sparsely furnished, but it would serve as a temporary base of operations. Once inside, Nicholas immediately set to work on decoding the stolen data. Tara watched him for a moment, then spoke up. "I should go get supplies. We're running low on everything." Nicholas looked up, concern etched on his face. "Are you sure? It could be dangerous." Tara's expression hardened. "I know how to move unnoticed. It was a survival skill before." Understanding passed between them and Nicholas nodded. "Be careful." As Tara slipped out into the station's crowds, Nicholas turned his attention back to the data. Hours passed as he worked, piecing together fragments of information, building a picture of the slave trade's operations. He was so engrossed in his work that he barely noticed when Tara returned, her arms laden with supplies. She set them down quietly, not wanting to interrupt his concentration. "Nicholas," she said softly after a moment, "I overheard something while I was out there." He looked up, instantly alert. "What is it?" "There's going to be a slave auction here on the station. In 3 days." Nicholas's eyes widened. "That could be our chance. If we can get in, we might be able to identify some of the major players." Tara nodded, her expression grim. "My thoughts exactly." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly to prepare. Nicholas used the last of their funds to secure invitations to the auction, creating false identities for them as potential buyers. As they worked in close proximity, Nicholas found himself increasingly aware of Tara's presence. The small room seemed to shrink, the air between them charged with an unspoken tension. More than once, their hands brushed as they pored over plans, their eyes meeting for a moment too long. Their preparation was interrupted by a sudden beep from Nicholas's communicator. An encrypted message flashed across the screen, its contents chilling. "They've branded me a rogue agent," Nicholas said, his voice tight. "They're sending a team to bring me in." Tara's face paled. "What do we do?" Nicholas's mind raced. "We need to throw them off our trail. I'm going to create new identities for us in the station's database. A married couple from a distant human colony. It should buy us some time." As the day of the auction drew near, both Nicholas and Tara found themselves constantly on edge. Every passerby in the corridor seemed a potential threat. Every glance in their direction, a possible sign of recognition. They took to sleeping in shifts, one always keeping watch while the other rested. During one such shift, while Nicholas slept fitfully on the small cot, Tara noticed a group of aliens entering the station. Her blood ran cold as she recognized one of them, a high-ranking member of the slave trading organization, one who had once claimed ownership of her. She shook Nicholas awake, her voice urgent but hushed. "We need to move. Now." As they hastily packed their meager belongings, a commotion erupted outside their room. Heavy footsteps approached, followed by a loud knock on the door. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look, both reaching for their weapons. Whatever came next, they knew their actions in the coming moments could determine not just the success of their mission, but their very survival. Survival. Whatever came next, they knew their actions in the coming moments could determine not just the success of their mission, but their very lives. Nicholas raised his weapon, ready to face whatever threat lay beyond the door. Tara positioned herself beside him, her body tense and alert. With a nod to each other, Nicholas reached for the door control. But as the panel slid open, they were met not with the expected hostile forces, but with a group of panicked aliens stumbling into their small room. The newcomers, a diverse mix of species, froze at the sight of Nicholas and Tara's raised weapons. "Please," gasped a tall, blue-skinned female at the front of the group. "We seek sanctuary. They're after us." Nicholas's mind raced, quickly assessing the situation. These weren't their pursuers. They were fellow fugitives. In an instant, he made a decision that would alter the course of their mission. Lowering his weapon, Nicholas adopted an authoritative tone. "You're safe here. We're undercover agents working against the slave trade." The aliens visibly relaxed, relief washing over their features. Tara shot Nicholas a questioning look, but he gave her a subtle nod, silently communicating his plan. As Nicholas secured the door, Tara ushered the refugees further into the room. There were 5 of them, each from a different alien race. They huddled together, their eyes darting nervously around the cramped space. "I'm Nicholas, and this is Tara," he introduced. "We're gathering intelligence to bring down the slave trafficking ring. Can you tell us what you know?" The blue-skinned female stepped forward. "I'm Shira from Andoria. I used to work for them as an accountant." Nicholas's eyes widened at this revelation. "An accountant? Do you have access to their financial records?" Shira nodded hesitantly. "I know where they're kept, in a data vault here on the station, but it's heavily guarded." As the group shared their experiences, Nicholas's mind whirred with possibilities. This unexpected encounter could be the break they needed. He glanced at Tara, noting the determined set of her jaw. She was thinking the same thing. "We need those records," Nicholas said, his voice low and intense. "They could expose the entire network." Tara leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "But what about the auction? We can't miss that opportunity." Nicholas paced the small room, formulating a plan. After a moment, he turned to address the group. "We're going to split up. Tara and I will attend the auction as planned. Shira, you and 2 others will attempt to access the data vault." As Nicholas outlined the details of their plan, Tara observed the refugees. Despite their fear, she saw a spark of hope in their eyes. They were willing to risk everything to bring down the system that had enslaved them. Over the next 2 days, Nicholas and Tara worked tirelessly to prepare both teams for their missions. In between planning sessions, Nicholas took time to train Tara in advanced combat techniques. Their sparring sessions were intense, their bodies moving in sync as Nicholas guided Tara through complex maneuvers. During one such session, as Nicholas demonstrated a disarming technique, Tara found herself acutely aware of his proximity. His hands on her arms sent a jolt through her body, their faces mere inches apart. For a moment, the world around them faded away, the air charged with unspoken tension. But the moment passed, both of them pushing aside their growing attraction to focus on the task at hand. There would be time for personal feelings later, if they survived. The day of the auction arrived, bringing with it a mix of anticipation and dread. Nicholas and Tara donned their elaborate disguises, transforming themselves into wealthy buyers. As they made final adjustments to their outfits, Nicholas caught Tara's eye in the mirror. "You ready for this?" he asked softly. Tara nodded, her eyes steely with dedication. "Let's bring these bastards down." They made their way through the station's winding corridors, finally arriving at the hidden entrance to the auction house. The opulence of the establishment stood in stark contrast to its nefarious purpose. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, while plush carpets muffled their footsteps. As they mingled with the crowd, Nicholas and Tara kept their senses alert, identifying key players in the organization. Tara's breath caught in her throat as she spotted a familiar face, the high-ranking slave trader who had once claimed ownership of her. Nicholas noticed her reaction and discreetly squeezed her hand. Their fingers intertwined briefly, drawing strength from each other before reluctantly separating to maintain their cover. The auction began, and Nicholas felt his stomach churn as sentient beings were paraded on stage like cattle. He placed strategic bids, careful to maintain their cover without actually purchasing any slaves. Beside him, Tara struggled to keep her composure, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. As the bidding progressed, Nicholas became aware of eyes on them. The high-ranking slave trader Tara had recognized was watching them intently, whispering to his security detail. Their cover was wearing thin, Meanwhile, deep within the station, Shira and her team navigated the maintenance tunnels, making their way towards the data vault. They moved silently, their hearts pounding with each close call as security patrols passed nearby. Finally reaching the vault, Shira's hands flew over the access panel, her former insider knowledge proving invaluable. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing rows of data servers. They quickly located the correct terminal and began the download process. But as the data transfer reached its midpoint, a red light began flashing on the console. A silent alarm had been triggered. The refugees exchanged panicked looks as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridor outside. Back at the auction, Nicholas noticed the slave trader and his security detail moving through the crowd, clearly headed in their direction. He caught Tara's eye, a silent message passing between them. They needed to move, and fast. As the auctioneer called for the next bid, Nicholas and Tara tensed, ready for action. The slave trader was mere feet away now, his hand reaching inside his jacket. In the data vault, Shira and her team huddled behind a server bank, the download still incomplete as security forces burst through the door. Both teams found themselves on the brink of discovery, the success of their mission hanging by a thread. The next few moments would determine not only their fate, but the future of countless enslaved beings across the galaxy. Nicholas and Tara exchanged one last look, steeling themselves for the confrontation to come. Time seemed to slow as Nicholas reached for the door control, his finger hovering over the panel. With a sharp intake of breath, he pressed the button. The door slid open, revealing not the expected hostile forces, but a group of panicked aliens stumbling into their small room. Nicholas and Tara lowered their weapons slightly, surprised by this unexpected turn of events. Before they could fully process the situation, a commotion erupted from the direction of the auction hall. Nicholas's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of raised voices and hurried footsteps. His eyes widened as he realized their cover was about to be blown. "Change of plans," Nicholas whispered urgently to Tara. "We need to move, now." Without waiting for a response, Nicholas turned to address the group of aliens. "We're undercover agents working against the slave trade. If you want to live, follow us." The aliens, a mix of different species, nodded frantically, their eyes wide with fear and hope. Nicholas took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. He caught Tara's eye, seeing the same willpower reflected there. "Let's go," he said, leading the way out of the room. As they approached the auction hall, the sounds of confusion grew louder. Nicholas's mind raced, formulating a plan on the fly. He turned to Tara, speaking in a low, urgent tone. "I'm going to create a distraction. When I do, make your way to the exit with the others. I'll catch up." Tara opened her mouth to protest, but Nicholas cut her off with a shake of his head. "Trust me," he said, his eyes conveying more than words could. They entered the opulent auction hall, the crystal chandeliers casting a deceptively warm glow over the scene. Nicholas scanned the room, quickly spotting the high-ranking slave trader who had been watching them earlier. The trader's eyes narrowed suspiciously as he caught sight of Nicholas and Tara. Nicholas knew they had mere seconds before their cover was completely blown. He raised his hand to his ear, pretending to receive an urgent communication. "I must leave immediately," he announced loudly, his voice carrying across the room. "A pressing business emergency requires my immediate attention." As he and Tara stood to exit, Nicholas saw the slave trader signal his security team. It was now or never. With a deliberate stumble, Nicholas crashed into a nearby table. Glasses shattered, and expensive liquor spilled across the plush carpet. Shouts of surprise and annoyance erupted from the wealthy attendees who found themselves drenched. "My sincerest apologies," Nicholas exclaimed, his voice dripping with feigned embarrassment. "How clumsy of me." In the ensuing chaos, Tara swiftly guided the group of alien refugees towards the exit. Nicholas continued his act, apologizing profusely as he maneuvered through the crowd, always keeping one eye on the approaching security team. As they reached the door, the first guard lunged for Nicholas. Years of military training kicked in as Nicholas sidestepped the attack, using the alien's momentum to throw him into his colleagues. The move bought them precious seconds as they burst into the corridor. "Run!" Nicholas shouted, no longer bothering with subtlety. They sprinted through the station's winding passageways, the sound of pursuit close behind. Nicholas's mind whirred, recalling the station's layout they had studied meticulously. He led them down a series of turns, ducking into maintenance shafts and service tunnels. Tara, bringing up the rear, showcased her newly honed skills as she engaged a guard who had managed to keep pace. With fluid movements, she disarmed him, using his own weapon to stun two more approaching enemies. As they ran, Nicholas's communicator buzzed. It was Shira, her voice tight with urgency. "We've got the data," she reported, "but we're trapped in the vault. Security is closing in." Nicholas exchanged a look with Tara, both of them understanding the gravity of the situation. The financial records Shira and her team had obtained could expose the entire slave trading network. They couldn't let that information fall back into the wrong hands. "Change of plans," Nicholas announced to the group as they paused to catch their breath in a dimly lit maintenance tunnel. "We're going to rescue our other team." Using the station schematics stored in his mind, Nicholas plotted the quickest route to the data vault. They encountered several security checkpoints along the way, each one forcing them to adapt and overcome. At one checkpoint, Nicholas engaged in hand-to-hand combat with two guards simultaneously, his movements a blur of precision and power. Tara, meanwhile, demonstrated her growing proficiency with alien technology, hacking into the station's systems to create false alarms and divert security forces away from their position. As they neared the data vault, the station-wide alert system blared to life. A voice echoed through the corridors announcing that both the human government and the slave trading organization had been contacted about the security breach. "We're out of time," Nicholas muttered, his mind focused. They rounded the final corner, coming face to face with a heavily fortified security team guarding the entrance to the data vault. Nicholas reached into his covert ops gear, pulling out a small device. "Cover your eyes," he warned, before activating the localized EMP. A pulse of energy rippled through the air, temporarily disabling the guards' weapons and communication devices. In the confusion that followed, Nicholas and Tara led their team in a coordinated assault, quickly overpowering the stunned guards. With the path clear, they breached the vault, finding Shira and her team huddled behind a bank of servers. Relief washed over their faces as they saw Nicholas and Tara. "We need to move now," Nicholas ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. As they prepared to leave, Shira spoke up, her voice trembling with excitement and fear. "The data we've acquired, it's more extensive than we thought. It could expose corruption at the highest levels of several galactic governments." Nicholas absorbed this information, realizing that the stakes of their mission had just increased exponentially, but there was no time to dwell on the implications. Alarms blared throughout the station, signaling that their window of escape was rapidly closing. "Let's go," Nicholas said, taking point as they exited the vault. The expanded team moved through the station, fighting their way past waves of security forces. Nicholas and Tara worked in perfect synchronization, their growing bond evident in the way they anticipated each other's moves. Human combat techniques proved surprisingly effective against the various alien adversaries they encountered. As they fought and ran, Nicholas couldn't help but notice how seamlessly he and Tara worked together. In the heat of battle, their connection seemed to transcend mere partnership, becoming something deeper and more profound. Finally, after what felt like hours of constant combat and evasion, they reached a hangar bay. Nicholas's heart soared at the sight of the ships docked within. Freedom was within their grasp, but as they entered the hangar, their hope turned to dismay. The bay was locked down, and a squadron of heavily armed security forces stood between them and potential escape. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of relentless drive, both understanding that this would be their final stand. As the security forces raised their weapons, Nicholas took a deep breath, readying himself for the fight of his life. The fate of their mission, and possibly countless enslaved beings across the galaxy, now hung in the balance. With Tara by his side and their team behind them, Nicholas prepared to face whatever came next. Time seemed to slow as Nicholas reached for the door control, his finger hovering over the panel. With a sharp intake of breath, he pressed the button. The hangar bay doors slid open with a hydraulic hiss, revealing a scene of tense anticipation. A squadron of heavily armed security forces stood in formation, their weapons trained on the small group of fugitives. Nicholas's mind raced, assessing the situation with lightning speed. Tara, he whispered, his voice barely audible over the low hum of the hangar systems. On my signal, provide covering fire. Refugees, stay low and move fast. Tara nodded, her grip tightening on her weapon. The refugees huddled behind them, fear and willpower etched on their alien features. Nicholas took a deep breath, his enhanced human physiology flooding his system with adrenaline. In one fluid motion, he sprang into action, his body moving with preternatural speed and agility. Now, he shouted, diving to the side as energy blasts erupted from the security force's weapons. Tara responded instantly, her own weapons springing to life. She laid down a barrage of suppressing fire, her aim precise and deadly. The refugees scattered, using the cover of Tara's assault to make their way deeper into the hangar. Nicholas weaved through the chaos, his movements a blur as he dodged energy blasts and used the hangar's infrastructure for cover. His goal was clear, the control panel on the far side of the bay. As he ran, Nicholas shouted instructions to Tara. Keep them pinned down, I'm going for the controls. Tara's voice rang out in response, steady despite the intensity of the firefight. Copy that. We've got your back. Nicholas vaulted over a stack of cargo containers, narrowly avoiding a volley of blasts that scorched the metal where he had been moments before. His human reflexes gave him an edge, allowing him to anticipate and evade the security force's attacks with uncanny precision. Reaching the control panel, Nicholas's fingers flew over the alien interface. His mind worked furiously, applying human ingenuity to the complex alien systems. Security protocols flashed warnings, but Nicholas bypassed them one by one, his hacking skills pushed to their limits. Across the hangar, Tara coordinated the refugees' defense with growing confidence. She applied the combat techniques Nicholas had taught her, effectively using cover and directing suppressing fire to keep the security forces at bay. Nicholas, Tara called out, her voice strained. Whatever you're doing, do it fast. We can't hold them much longer. With a final keystroke, Nicholas overrode the hangar bay doors. They began to open, the sudden decompression catching the security forces off guard. Several of them stumbled, their shots going wide as they struggled to maintain their footing. Everyone, move, Nicholas shouted, pointing to a sleek, mid-sized freighter nearby. Get to that ship! The group sprinted across the hangar floor, Tara providing covering fire as they ran. Nicholas joined them, his longer strides allowing him to quickly catch up. Energy blasts sizzled past them, leaving scorch marks on the hangar floor. They reached the freighter, Nicholas practically leaping into the pilot's seat. Tara slid into the co-pilot's chair beside him, their bodies brushing in the confined space. For a brief moment, their eyes met, a spark of something more than just adrenaline passing between them. Strap in, Nicholas called to the refugees as his hands danced over the ship's controls. The engines roared to life, the freighter shuddering as it lifted off the hangar floor. Tara activated the ship's defensive systems, returning fire on the security vessels that were now scrambling to intercept them. Her shots were precise, disabling several pursuing craft with well-placed hits. Nicholas guided the ship out of the hangar, his piloting skills immediately put to the test as they faced a blockade of station security vessels. He weaved through the formation, the ship responding to his touch as if it were an extension of his own body. Hold on, he warned as he executed a series of complex maneuvers, barrel rolling the freighter to avoid a barrage of enemy fire. In the close quarters of the cockpit, Nicholas and Tara worked in perfect synchronization, their bodies pressed together as the ship twisted and turned, the heat of battle and proximity heightening the tension between them. As they broke free of the station's immediate defenses, alarms began to blare throughout the ship. The strain of their daring escape had taken its toll on the freighter's systems. We're overheating, Tara reported, her eyes scanning the diagnostic readouts. The engines can't take much more of this. Nicholas gritted his teeth, pushing the ship harder as they approached the hyperspace entry point. We need one more push. Any ideas? Tara's mind raced, drawing on her scientific background. We could reroute power from life support to the engines. It's risky, but it might give us the boost we need. Their eyes met again, understanding passing between them. Nicholas nodded, trusting Tara's expertise. Do it. As Terra worked to implement the modifications, their hands touched, lingering for a moment longer than necessary. The air between them seemed to crackle with unspoken attraction, but they forced themselves to focus on the task at hand. With alarms blaring and pursuing ships closing in, Nicholas and Terra completed the modifications. The ship shuddered violently as the overtaxed engines roared with renewed power. "Here goes nothing," Nicholas muttered, pushing the ship to its absolute limit as they approached the hyperspace entry point. The pursuing ships loomed closer, their weapons charging for a final assault. Just as it seemed they might overtake the freighter, the stars around them elongated into streaks of light. With a final lurch, the ship plunged into hyperspace, leaving the station and its security forces far behind. For a moment, there was silence in the cockpit, broken only by the sound of heavy breathing. Then, as the reality of their escape sank in, Nicholas and Terra turned to each other, grins breaking out on their faces. Their moment of celebration was short-lived, however, as new alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The strain of their daring escape had taken a heavy toll on the freighter's systems. "Life support is minimal," Terra reported, her expression growing serious as she scanned the readouts. "Engines are on the verge of collapse, and our hyperspace trajectory is unstable." Nicholas's mind raced, weighing their options. "We need to drop out of hyperspace and find somewhere to make repairs." He quickly scanned the navigation system, searching for a safe haven. "There," he said, pointing to a small, nondescript planet on the star map. "It's in a remote sector, but it's habitable. We can land there, make repairs, and plan our next move." Terra nodded, already making the necessary calculations for the hyperspace exit. As Nicholas prepared to bring the ship out of hyperspace, their eyes met once more. In that look was a mix of tenacity, relief, and something deeper, a growing attraction that neither could deny. The ship shuddered as it dropped out of hyperspace, the mysterious planet looming large in the view screen. As Nicholas guided the damaged freighter toward the unknown world, he and Terra exchanged a final glance. They had survived their escape from the station, but new challenges, both external and internal, awaited them on the surface below. The freighter entered the planet's atmosphere, its hull glowing red-hot from the friction. Nicholas gripped the controls tightly, fighting to keep the ship stable as they descended through roiling clouds towards the alien landscape below. The freighter entered the planet's atmosphere, its hull glowing red-hot from the friction. Nicholas gripped the controls tightly, fighting to keep the ship stable as they descended through roiling clouds towards the alien landscape. Alarms blared throughout the cockpit, warning of multiple system failures. "We're losing altitude too fast," Terra shouted over the cacophony of alerts. "The landing gear is unresponsive." Nicholas's mind focused as he wrestled with the controls. "Brace for impact." The ship plummeted through the last layer of clouds, revealing a vast expanse of dense jungle below. Nicholas maneuvered desperately, aiming for a small clearing barely visible among the sea of green. The freighter shuddered violently as it skimmed the treetops, branches and leaves scraping against the hull with a deafening screech. With a bone-jarring thud, the ship slammed into the ground, skidding across the clearing and carving a deep furrow in the alien soil. As it finally ground to a halt, Nicholas let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Everyone okay?" he called out, quickly unbuckling his harness. A chorus of groans and affirmatives answered him. Terra was already on her feet, running a diagnostic on the ship's systems. "It's not good," she reported grimly. "The engines are completely fried. We're not getting off this rock without major repairs." Nicholas nodded, his mind already shifting to their next move. "Let's get everyone out. We don't know what kind of wildlife might be drawn to the crash." They quickly organized the evacuation, helping the refugees out of the damaged freighter. As the group assembled in the clearing, Nicholas took stock of their situation. The alien jungle loomed around them, filled with unfamiliar sounds and smells. "Terra, what can you tell us about this planet?" Nicholas asked, his eyes scanning the tree line for any signs of movement. Terra pulled out a small device, analyzing the air and surrounding environment. "The atmosphere is breathable, thankfully. Gravity is slightly lower than standard. But there's something else." She frowned, adjusting the settings on her scanner. "I'm picking up unusual energy readings nearby." Nicholas's brow furrowed. Natural phenomenon? Tara shook her head. Not likely. It's too regular, too concentrated. If I had to guess, I'd say it's artificial in origin. Nicholas weighed their options quickly. They needed repairs, supplies, and potentially shelter. If there was a chance of finding any of that at the source of those energy readings, it was worth investigating. All right, he decided. Shira, you're in charge here. Set up a defensive perimeter and stay alert. Tara and I will scout ahead and check out those energy readings. As Nicholas and Tara prepared to head out, they shared a look of anticipation. The adrenaline from their crash landing was still coursing through their veins, mingling with the excitement of exploration and the undeniable attraction that had been building between them. They set off into the jungle, Tara leading the way with her scanner. The alien flora surrounded them, plants with shapes and colors unlike anything they'd seen before. Strange bird-like creatures called from the canopy above, their cries echoing through the dense foliage. As they pushed deeper into the jungle, the undergrowth became thicker, forcing them to move closer together. Nicholas found himself acutely aware of Tara's presence, the subtle scent of her hair, the way her body moved as she navigated the difficult terrain. Suddenly, Tara stopped short, causing Nicholas to bump into her. His hands instinctively went to her waist to steady her, and for a moment they stood there, bodies pressed together, hearts racing. Sorry, Nicholas murmured, reluctantly letting go. What is it? Tara swallowed hard, trying to focus on her scanner rather than the lingering warmth of Nicholas's touch. The energy readings are strongest just ahead. We should be able to see the source any moment now. They pushed through a final curtain of vines and found themselves in another clearing. There, rising before them, was a structure that took their breath away. Massive stone blocks, covered in intricate carvings, formed a pyramid-like edifice that dwarfed the surrounding trees. Despite its obvious age, with vines and moss clinging to its surface, the structure radiated an aura of power and mystery. Incredible, Tara breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. This has to be artificial. But who built it? And how long has it been here? Nicholas approached the structure cautiously, his trained eyes searching for any signs of danger. As he neared the base of the pyramid, he noticed a series of symbols etched into one of the stone blocks. Curious, he reached out to trace them with his fingers. The moment his skin made contact with the carved symbols, a low hum filled the air. The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly, and before their astonished eyes, a section of the pyramid's base began to slide open, revealing a dark passage leading into the heart of the structure. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of excitement and apprehension. The mysteries of this alien world were beginning to unfold before them, promising both danger and discovery. With a nod of agreement, they stepped forward together, ready to face whatever lay within the ancient structure. As they crossed the threshold into the darkness, neither of them noticed the silent, shadowy figures that had begun to emerge from the jungle behind them, watching their every move with predatory interest. Their attention was quickly diverted, however, as a low growl echoed through the clearing. Nicholas and Tara spun around, hearts racing as they faced the source of the sound. Emerging from the dense foliage were several large predatory creatures. Their sleek bodies were covered in iridescent scales that shimmered in the dappled sunlight. 6 legs propelled them forward with startling speed, while razor-sharp claws dug into the soft earth. The beasts' elongated snouts were filled with rows of needle-like teeth, and their eyes glowed with an eerie, bioluminescent light. "Back to the ship," Nicholas shouted, grabbing Tara's arm and pulling her toward the tree line. They sprinted through the undergrowth, branches whipping at their faces as they heard the creatures in hot pursuit. As they burst into the clearing where their damaged freighter lay, Nicholas and Tara found the refugees and crew already mobilized. Shira had organized a defensive perimeter, with makeshift weapons cobbled together from the ship's debris. "Incoming hostiles," Nicholas warned, diving behind a section of torn hull plating. Tara crouched beside him, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The predators exploded from the jungle, their otherworldly shrieks filling the air. The defenders met them with a barrage of improvised projectiles and energy blasts from salvaged weapons. Nicholas and Tara joined the fray, their movements perfectly synchronized as they fended off the savage assault. As dawn broke over the alien world, the attacks finally ceased. The surviving creatures retreated into the jungle, leaving behind a scene of chaos and destruction. Nicholas surveyed the damage, his heart heavy as he realized the toll the night had taken on their already precarious situation. "We need to get off this planet," he muttered, running a hand through his sweat-soaked hair. Tara nodded, her eyes scanning the battered freighter. "Let's see what we can salvage. If we can get the engines operational, we might have a chance." As the group began to work on repairing the ship, a new sound caught their attention. The distant hum of engines grew louder, and soon a vessel appeared on the horizon. Nicholas tensed, reaching for his weapon, but Tara placed a hand on his arm. "Wait," she said, squinting at the approaching ship. "That's not a standard configuration. It looks like—" "Pirates," Nicholas finished, recognizing the cobbled-together design of the craft. The pirate ship landed nearby, and a group of rough-looking individuals emerged. Their leader, a tall, scarred man with cybernetic implants, approached with his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Looks like you folks could use some help," he called out. "I'm Captain Zorn. We picked up your distress signal and thought we might find some easy salvage. But seeing as you're still kicking, maybe we can work out a mutually beneficial arrangement instead." Nicholas and Tara exchanged glances, weighing their options. With no other choice, they cautiously agreed to accept the pirates' assistance. As the day wore on, the clearing became a hive of activity. The pirates, true to their word, brought salvaged parts from their own ship to aid in the repairs. Nicholas coordinated the efforts, his leadership skills put to the test as he managed the uneasy alliance between his crew, the refugees, and their newfound pirate allies. Tara threw herself into the work, her scientific knowledge proving invaluable as she jury-rigged systems and rewired complex components. Throughout the day, she and Nicholas found themselves constantly in each other's orbit, their recent passionate encounter adding a new layer of tension to their interactions. As Tara reached up to adjust a power coupling, Nicholas steadied her with a hand on her waist. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the chaos around them faded away. Tara's breath caught in her throat as Nicholas's fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on her hip. "I think that should do it," Tara said, her voice husky. She cleared her throat, trying to regain her composure. "We should be able to fire up the main engines now." Nicholas nodded, reluctantly stepping back. "Good work. Let's give it a try." As they moved to the cockpit to test the repairs, Shira approached Nicholas with a concerned expression. She pulled him aside, glancing warily at the pirate crew. "Nicholas, I need to talk to you," she said in a low voice. "I recognize one of Zorn's crew. He used to be a slave trader. I saw him at an auction years ago." Nicholas's eyes sharp as he processed this information. He looked over at the pirates, who were laughing and sharing a meal with some of the refugees. "Are you sure?" Shira nodded grimly. "Positive. I never forget a face, especially not one from those days." "All right," Nicholas said, his mind racing. "We'll keep a closer eye on them. But for now, we need their help. Just stay alert." As Nicholas rejoined Tara in the cockpit, she was already poring over data from the precursor complex. Her eyes widened as she made a startling discovery. "Nicholas, look at this," she said, gesturing to the screen. "These are coordinates for other precursor sites. They're scattered all over the galaxy." Nicholas leaned in, his shoulder brushing against Tara's as he studied the information. "This could change everything," he murmured, "if we can access more of their technology." Their discussion was cut short by a blaring alarm. The newly repaired long-range sensors had detected an incoming vessel. Nicholas's blood ran cold as he recognized the configuration. "Slave traders," he growled. "They must have followed our trail from the station." As the implications of their dire situation sank in, Nicholas and Tara shared a look of commitment. They had escaped death once on this alien world. Now, with enemies closing in and uneasy allies at their side, they would have to do it again. Again, with the slave traders closing in and their uneasy alliance with the pirates, they needed a new plan. Fast. "We can't stay here," Nicholas said, his mind racing. "We're sitting ducks." Tara nodded, her fingers flying over the console. "Agreed. But where can we go? The ship's barely holding together as it is." Captain Zorn's gruff voice crackled over the comm system. I might have a solution for you folks, if you're willing to trust a pirate, that is. Nicholas and Tara exchanged glances. They had little choice. We're listening, Nicholas replied. There's a place I know, Zorn said. A haven hidden in the debris field of the Cassiopean Nebula. It's not much, but it's safe and well hidden. We can finish repairs there and figure out our next move. Nicholas considered the offer. It was risky, but their options were limited. All right, Captain, lead the way. As they prepared to depart, Nicholas briefed the crew and refugees on the plan. Shira pulled him aside, her voice low. I don't like this, Nicholas. We're putting a lot of trust in these pirates. I know, he replied, but right now they're our best chance at survival. Stay alert, and we'll deal with any betrayal if it comes. The damaged freighter limped after Zorn's ship, following it into the swirling chaos of the debris field. Tara's expertise was put to the test as she navigated through the treacherous obstacles, her brow furrowed in concentration. After what felt like hours of tense maneuvering, a massive asteroid loomed before them. As they approached, the surface seemed to shimmer and distort, revealing a hidden entrance. Incredible, Tara breathed, analyzing the readings on her console. The cloaking technology is unlike anything I've ever seen. They docked in a cavernous hangar bay, the stark metal walls a sharp contrast to the organic, alien world they'd left behind. As the airlock hissed open, Nicholas and Tara led their group out, wary but curious. A tall, weathered man with close-cropped gray hair and a network of scars across his face approached them. His bearing spoke of military training, but there was a weariness in his eyes that hinted at a complex past. Welcome to Haven, he said, his voice gravelly. I'm Grayson. I run this little sanctuary for those looking to stay off the grid. Nicholas stepped forward, extending his hand. Nicholas, we appreciate your hospitality, Grayson. Our ship needs repairs, and we're in a bit of a tight spot. Grayson's grip was firm as he shook Nicholas's hand. Zorn filled me in on your situation. We can help with the repairs, but it'll come at a price. Name it, Nicholas said, bracing himself. I understand you've come across some interesting precursor technology, Grayson said, his eyes gleaming with interest. We'd like a share of that information in exchange for our help and protection. Nicholas hesitated, glancing at Tara. She gave a slight nod, and he turned back to Grayson. We can work something out, but first we need to secure our people and start those repairs. As they settled into the haven, Nicholas and Tara found themselves in a makeshift lab, poring over the precursor data they'd recovered. The more they examined it, the more astounding it became. Nicholas, look at this, Tara said, excitement coloring her voice. She pointed to a series of coordinates on the screen. It's not just random data. These are locations of other precursor outposts scattered across the galaxy. Nicholas leaned in, his shoulder brushing against Tara's. The contact sent a jolt through him, but he forced himself to focus on the information before them. And this one, he said, indicating a particular set of coordinates. The data suggests it might house some kind of advanced weaponry. Tara's eyes widened. Weaponry that could potentially disable slave ships without harming the captives inside. Nicholas, this could change everything in our fight against the slave trade. Their excitement was short-lived. Shira burst into the lab, her face tight with worry. Nicholas, we have a problem. I overheard some of Zorn's crew. They're planning to steal our ship and the precursor data. Nicholas's face hardened. He'd been expecting something like this, but he'd hoped they'd have more time. Where's Zorn now? In the main concourse, Shira replied. Nicholas nodded, his decision made. Tara, secure the data. Shira, gather our people and be ready to move if things go south. I'm going to have a chat with our pirate friend. He strode through the winding corridors of the haven, his hand resting on his weapon. As he entered the main concourse, he spotted Zorn lounging at a makeshift bar, surrounded by his crew. Zorn! Nicholas called out, his voice carrying across the room. We need to talk. The pirate captain turned, a lazy smile on his face. Nicholas, my friend, what can I do for you? Cut the act, Nicholas said, closing the distance between them. I know what you're planning. The ship, the data, it's not yours to take. Zorn's smile faded, replaced by a cold stare. In an instant, the atmosphere in the concourse changed. Pirates reached for weapons, and Nicholas found himself surrounded. "Come now, Nicholas," Zorn said, his voice dangerously low. "You didn't think we were doing this out of the goodness of our hearts, did you? That precursor tech is worth more than you can imagine." Nicholas's hand tightened on his weapon, ready to draw. The tension in the room was palpable, a powder keg ready to explode. Suddenly, a booming voice cut through the standoff. "Enough!" Grayson strode into the concourse, his face thunderous. "There will be no bloodshed in my haven. You want to settle this? We do it the old-fashioned way." Nicholas raised an eyebrow. "What are you suggesting?" Grayson's scarred face twisted into a grim smile. "A contest in the arena. One champion from each side. The winner gets the ship, the data and control of this little expedition of yours." Zorn laughed, a harsh sound. "And who would fight for you, Nicholas?" "You?" Nicholas met the pirate's gaze steadily. "Yes, me." As the word left his lips, Nicholas saw a flicker of something. Respect, perhaps, in Grayson's eyes. The Haven's leader nodded. "It's settled, then. Prepare yourselves. The fight begins in 1 hour." As Grayson led them towards the arena, Nicholas felt a mix of anticipation and dread. He just volunteered to fight for everything they'd worked for, everything they'd discovered. The weight of that responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. Tara fell into step beside him, her face a mask of concern. "Nicholas, are you sure about this? We don't know what kind of fighter Zorn will choose." He reached out, squeezing her hand briefly. "It's our best shot, Tara. We can't let them take everything we fought for." As they approached the arena entrance, Nicholas could hear the growing roar of a crowd. Grayson turned to them, his expression serious. "The rules are simple," he said. "The fight continues until one competitor yields or is unable to continue. No weapons, no outside interference." Nicholas nodded, steeling himself for what was to come. As they entered the arena, he was momentarily overwhelmed by the sight. The cavernous space was filled with a diverse crowd of spectators, their excited chatter echoing off the rocky walls. In the center of the arena stood a towering figure that made Nicholas's heart sink. It was a massive, four-armed alien warrior, its scaly skin rippling with muscle. Zorn's voice rang out, filled with smug satisfaction. "Meet Krax, the undefeated champion of our little fighting circuit. Still feeling confident, Nicholas?" Nicholas didn't respond. He simply stepped forward, his eyes locked on his opponent. As he moved to the center of the arena, he felt a hand on his arm. He turned to see Tara, her eyes shining with a mix of fear and grit. "Be careful," she said softly. "And Nicholas, come back to me." He nodded, allowing himself a moment to draw strength from her presence before stepping into the ring. As he faced Krax, the alien warrior's multiple eyes narrowed, assessing him. Grayson's voice boomed through the arena. "Let the fight begin!" Krax moved with surprising speed for his size, his forearms lashing out in a flurry of strikes. Nicholas barely managed to dodge, feeling the wind from the alien's fists as they whistled past his face. As the fight progressed, Nicholas found himself on the defensive, using all his agility to avoid Krax's relentless assault. But he couldn't keep this up forever. He needed to find a way to turn the tables. Dodging another powerful swing, Nicholas's mind raced. He thought back to his training, to every fight he'd ever been in. There had to be a way to use Krax's strength against him. As the alien warrior lunged forward, Nicholas saw his opportunity. He dropped low, using Krax's momentum to flip the massive creature over his shoulder. The crowd gasped as Krax crashed to the ground, momentarily stunned. Nicholas pressed his advantage, raining blows on the alien's vulnerable spots. But Krax recovered quickly, his forearms giving him a distinct advantage in close combat. The fight became a brutal dance of attack and counterattack. Nicholas's human adaptability allowed him to adjust his strategy on the fly, but Krax's raw power and extra limbs kept him constantly on edge. As the battle wore on, Nicholas could feel his strength flagging. His breath came in ragged gasps, and his muscles screamed in protest. But he couldn't give up. Too much was riding on this fight. In a desperate move, Nicholas feinted to the left, then ducked under Krax's guard. He drove his shoulder into the alien's midsection, using all his remaining strength to lift and slam Cracks to the ground. The impact was thunderous. Nicholas quickly maneuvered behind Cracks, locking the alien's arms in a grappling hold. Cracks thrashed wildly, but Nicholas held on with dogged perseverance. Seconds stretched into an eternity as Nicholas poured every ounce of his will into maintaining the hold. Finally, after what seemed like hours, he felt Cracks' struggles begin to weaken. With a guttural roar, the alien warrior slapped the ground with one of his free hands, the universal signal of submission. The crowd erupted in cheers as Grayson's voice rang out, "It's over! Nicholas is the victor!" As the adrenaline of the fight faded, Nicholas felt the full weight of his exertion hit him. He swayed on his feet, his vision blurring. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was Tara rushing towards him, concern etched on her face. He awoke to the sterile environment of the Haven's medical bay, Tara's worried face hovering above him. "Welcome back," she said softly, relief evident in her voice. Nicholas tried to sit up, wincing at the pain that shot through his body. "How long was I out?" "Only a few hours," Tara replied, gently pushing him back down. "You need to rest." But rest was a luxury they couldn't afford. An urgent alert blared through the Haven's communication system, causing them both to snap to attention. Grayson's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with tension. "All hands to battle stations. We've got multiple ships entering the system. Looks like those slave traders have found us." Nicholas and Tara shared a look of fierce dedication. Their hard-won victory in the arena now seemed like a distant memory. A new battle was looming, one that would test not just their strength, but their wits and purpose as well. As they rushed to join the others in formulating a defense plan, Nicholas couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. The precursor technology they discovered, the coordinates to other outposts, it all pointed to something bigger than they'd imagined. But right now they had a haven to defend and innocent lives to protect. Everything else would have to wait. With renewed purpose, Nicholas and Tara hurried to meet this new threat head-on, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Ahead, the blaring of alarms jolted Nicholas and Tara into action. They rushed from the medical bay, navigating the haven's winding corridors with urgency. As they entered the command center, Grayson's grim face told them all they needed to know. The haven's main view screen displayed a fleet of imposing ships entering the system, their designs unmistakably those of slave traders. "How many?" Nicholas asked, his voice taut with tension. Grayson's fingers flew over the control panel. "At least a dozen capital ships with more fighters than we can count. They found us, and they're not here to negotiate." Tara's mind raced. "The precursor data, could it help us?" Nicholas nodded, catching her train of thought. "Grayson, is there anything in this system that could be of precursor origin? Anything at all?" The Haven leader's eyes widened with realization. The asteroid field. There have always been strange energy readings coming from it, but we never had the means to investigate properly. "That's our best shot," Nicholas said. He turned to Tara. "Can you use what we've decrypted to search for any defense systems?" Tara was already moving to a nearby console. "On it." As Tara worked, Nicholas coordinated with Grayson and a reluctant Zorn to organize their defenses. The Haven's inhabitants, a motley crew of outcasts and refugees, rallied to protect their sanctuary. Minutes ticked by, each one bringing the slave trader fleet closer. Suddenly, Tara's voice cut through the tense atmosphere. "I found something. There's a network of energy nodes throughout the asteroid field. If we can activate them—" "Do it," Nicholas and Grayson said in unison. Tara's fingers flew over the console, inputting commands based on the precursor data. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the view screen lit up with a spectacular display of energy. Streams of blue-white light connected the asteroids, forming a complex web of energy barriers. The approaching slave trader fleet, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the defensive grid, scattered to avoid collision. A cheer went up from the Haven's defenders, but Nicholas knew this was only a temporary respite. "Grayson, we need to get every ship we have ready for battle. Tara, keep working on that precursor tech. See if you can find a way to integrate it into our systems." As Grayson coordinated the Haven's defenses, Nicholas turned to Zorn. I need your people's expertise. You know how these slavers think, how they fight? Help us prepare. Zorn hesitated, then nodded, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. All right, but don't think this makes us friends. The next hours were a blur of activity. Nicholas worked alongside Grayson's engineers and Zorn's crew, rapidly upgrading their small fleet of ships with the precursor tech Terra was decoding. The improvements were significant. Shields were stronger, weapons more potent. As they worked, the slave trader fleet probed the energy barriers, searching for weaknesses. It was only a matter of time before they broke through. That moment came all too soon. Alarms blared as the first enemy ships penetrated the grid. Nicholas sprinted to his fighter, shouting last-minute instructions to his makeshift squadron. The hangar doors opened, and Nicholas led the charge into space. The fight was brutal and chaotic. His enhanced fighter responded to his every command, allowing him to outmaneuver the larger, slower slave ships. Nicholas barrel-rolled to avoid enemy fire, then retaliated with a burst from his upgraded weapons. The slaver ship's shields buckled under the assault, and a follow-up strike from one of Zorn's pilots finished it off. But for every ship they destroyed, more took its place. The Haven's defenses were slowly being overwhelmed. In the midst of the battle, Nicholas's calm crackled to life. Tara's voice came through, excitement and urgency in her tone. Nicholas, I've found something. There's a precursor outpost on a nearby planet. It houses some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon. It could disable the entire fleet without harming the people on board. Nicholas weighed his options quickly. They were losing the battle, but this could turn the tide. Send me the coordinates. I'm on my way. He opened a channel to Grayson and Zorn. I'm going after a weapon that could end this. Can you hold them off? Grayson's response was grim but determined. We'll do what we have to. Go! To Nicholas's surprise, Zorn added, Don't take too long. I don't fancy dying for your haven. As Nicholas piloted his ship away from the battle, he saw Tara, Shira, and two of Grayson's techs rushing towards him across the hangar. They boarded quickly, and Nicholas plotted a course to the coordinates Tara had provided. The ship shuddered as they escaped the intensifying battle around the haven. Nicholas pushed the engines to their limits, keenly aware that every second counted. As they approached the planet, the ship's sensors came alive with unusual readings. The planet's surface was a sea of bioluminescent jungle, pulsing with strange energies. Incredible, Tara breathed, her eyes fixed on the readings. The entire planet seems to be some kind of precursor construct. Nicholas focused on piloting through the turbulent atmosphere, relying on Tara's guidance to navigate the treacherous conditions. They landed in a small clearing, the dense jungle pressing in around them. As they disembarked, the air hit them like a wall, thick, humid, and filled with glowing spores that interfered with their equipment. Strange calls echoed from the undergrowth, hinting at unseen predators. Nicholas took point, with Tara close behind. They moved cautiously through the alien terrain, their path illuminated by the bioluminescent flora. Remnants of precursor technology jutted from the ground at odd angles, half consumed by the jungle. It's as if the entire planet is one big machine, Tara mused, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her apprehension. They pressed on, time weighing heavily on their minds. The fate of the haven, and possibly the entire sector, rested on their success. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet shuddered. Nicholas reached for Tara instinctively as the earth gave way, plunging them into darkness. They tumbled down a slick chute, separated from the others by the fall. They landed hard in a dimly lit chamber, surrounded by dormant precursor machinery. As they helped each other up, the close quarters and shared adrenaline made them acutely aware of each other. For a moment, the air between them crackled with unspoken tension. But before either could speak, the chamber came to life around them. Holographic interfaces sprang into existence, responding to their presence. Tara's eyes widened as she took in the displays. Nicholas, this isn't just a weapon, she said, her voice filled with awe. It's a control center for a vast network of precursor technology. The implications are staggering. Nicholas nodded, but his attention was drawn to movement in the shadows. "Work fast," he said, drawing his weapon. "We've got company." Company. Nicholas tensed, his weapon at the ready as shadowy figures emerged from the darkness. "Relax, it's us," came Shira's familiar voice. She and the two technicians from Grayson's team stumbled into view, looking disheveled but unharmed. Nicholas lowered his weapon, relief washing over him. "Glad you made it. We found something big." Tara was already engrossed in the holographic displays, her fingers dancing over the alien interface. "This is incredible. The entire system is like a massive network, connecting various precursor outposts across the galaxy." As the team gathered around her, Tara's eyes widened. "I think I've found what we're looking for. There's a weapon system here, an electromagnetic pulse on a scale I've never seen before." Nicholas leaned in, studying the schematics. "Can we use it to stop the slave traders?" Tara nodded, her face illuminated by the ethereal glow of the holograms. "Yes, but it's not just a localized weapon. This could potentially disable slave ships across multiple systems simultaneously." Without hesitation, Nicholas made the call. "Do it. We need to end this now." Tara's fingers flew over the controls, inputting complex sequences as the ancient machinery hummed to life around them. The chamber vibrated with building energy, and for a moment, Nicholas feared they'd made a terrible mistake. Then with a silent flash, the pulse was released. On the holographic displays, they watched as a wave of energy spread rapidly across the star map, engulfing system after system. "It worked," Tara breathed, her voice filled with awe. "The slave trader fleet attacking the Haven. They're all disabled, and it's not just them. I'm seeing reports of powerless ships all across the nearby sectors." Nicholas allowed himself a moment of triumph before focusing on their next steps. "We need to make sure this is more than a temporary victory. Tara, is there a way to create a network of these pulses?" She nodded, already working on the problem. "Yes, but it'll take time. We need to calibrate the system carefully to avoid unintended damage to innocent ships or inhabited worlds." As Tara and the technicians immersed themselves in the intricacies of the precursor technology, Nicholas received an incoming transmission from Grayson. "Nicholas, we've got a situation up here," Grayson's voice crackled through the comm. "The slave ships are dead in the water, but we're not wasting this opportunity. Zorn and I are leading boarding parties to free the captives and gather intel." "Good work," Nicholas replied. "We'll feed you any relevant data we find down here. Be careful." Hours passed as they worked tirelessly. Tara and the techs slowly unraveled the secrets of the control center, while Nicholas coordinated with the teams at the Haven. The more they discovered, the more staggering the implications became. "Nicholas, look at this," Tara called, gesturing to a new set of holograms. "There are dozens of other precursor outposts out there, each with different technologies. If we could find them all—" Her words were cut off by an alarm blaring from one of the consoles. Shira rushed over, her face paling as she read the data. "We've got a problem. The activation of this system has triggered some kind of automated defense network on other precursor worlds. If we don't shut it down, it could threaten populated planets across the galaxy." Nicholas felt the weight of responsibility settling heavily on his shoulders. They had to act fast to prevent a catastrophe, but the complexity of the system was overwhelming. He looked at Tara, seeing his own mix of perseverance and fear reflected in her eyes. In that moment of shared vulnerability, something shifted between them. Without a word, they moved closer, drawing strength from each other's presence. Their hands intertwined, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had been growing between them. But the moment was short-lived. Another transmission from Grayson shattered the brief respite. "Nicholas, we've got incoming." Grayson's voice was tense. "A massive fleet is heading our way. Some look friendly, but others— let's just say not everyone's happy about what we've done here." Tara squeezed Nicholas's hand before returning to her work with renewed vigor. "We need more time," she said, her voice steady despite the pressure. "If we can fully activate this control center, we might be able to use it as leverage, force a peaceful resolution." Nicholas nodded, his mind racing through their options. "Do what you can. I'll try to buy us some time." As he moved to coordinate their defenses, Nicholas caught sight of a new holographic display. It showed the incoming fleet in all its terrifying glory. hundreds of ships from various factions converging on their location. He shared a look with Tara, both of them fully aware of the monumental task ahead. They stood at the precipice of a new era with the power to reshape the galaxy in their hands. Whatever came next, they would face it together. With a deep breath, Nicholas turned back to the communications array, ready to confront the approaching storm. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and the next few hours would determine its course for generations to come. Nicholas's fingers flew over the communications array, his mind racing as he formulated a plan. The approaching fleet loomed large on the holographic display, a dizzying array of ships from various factions converging on their position. "Tara," he called over his shoulder, "we need to buy ourselves some time. Is there any way to use this precursor tech to shield the haven?" Tara's eyes lit up. "Yes, the control center has defensive capabilities. If we recalibrate the energy output, we might be able to create a protective barrier around the entire asteroid field." Without hesitation, they set to work. Nicholas coordinated with Grayson and Zorn via comlink, preparing them for what was to come, while Tara and the technicians furiously input commands into the alien interface. The chamber hummed with energy as the precursor systems came to life. On the hollow display, a shimmering field began to spread outward from their position, racing ahead of the incoming fleet. "It's working," Shira exclaimed, watching as the protective barrier enveloped the pirate haven and the surrounding asteroids. The shields snapped into place just as the first ships of the massive fleet arrived. They pulled up short, unable to penetrate the glowing energy field. Nicholas allowed himself a brief moment of relief before turning his attention to the next crisis. "Tara, what's the status on those malfunctioning defense systems?" Tara's brow furrowed as she studied the data streaming across her screen. "Not good. The long dormancy has corrupted their targeting protocols. If we don't act fast, they could start firing on populated worlds." They worked tirelessly, fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as they sent out signals to update the ancient defenses with current galactic maps and civilization data. It was painstaking work, requiring precise calculations and split-second timing. As they labored, Nicholas kept one eye on the communications feed from the haven. Grayson and Zorn had begun reaching out to the various factions in the fleet, leveraging their respective connections to open diplomatic channels. "We've made contact with the human government representatives," Grayson's voice crackled through the comm. "They're pushing for an immediate summit to discuss the precursor technology. Zorn's working on getting the independent systems on board." Nicholas nodded even though Grayson couldn't see him. "Good work. Keep me posted." Hours passed in a blur of activity. Finally, Tara sat back with a sigh of relief. "I think we've done it. The defense systems are recalibrated and should now recognize friendly targets." Nicholas squeezed her shoulder, a gesture of support and shared accomplishment. "Great work. Now we need to get back to the haven for that summit." As if in response to his words, the chamber around them shuddered. The bioluminescent plants that had been quietly growing in the corners of the room suddenly surged forward, tendrils snaking across the floor with alarming speed. "What's happening?" Shira cried out, stumbling back from the advancing vegetation. Tara's eyes widened in realization. "It's another failsafe. The planet is trying to protect the precursor technology by sealing it away." Nicholas sprang into action. "Everyone, move! We need to get to the ship now!" They raced through the rapidly transforming corridors, the once dormant jungle now alive and hostile. Carnivorous plants snapped at their heels, while the very ground beneath their feet shifted and buckled. Tara, drawing on her scientific knowledge, shouted directions. "The growth seems to be following a fractal pattern. If we take the next left, we should find a clear path." Nicholas took point, using his weapon to clear a path through the denser growth. The air was thick with glowing spores, making it difficult to see and breathe. Behind them, the control center was rapidly disappearing beneath a sea of writhing vegetation. They burst out of the structure into the open air, only to find the landscape utterly changed. What had been a small clearing was now a roiling mass of bioluminescent plant life. Their ship stood 100 meters away, already half engulfed by creeping vines. Nicholas's heart sank at the sight, but he pushed down his despair. We're not done yet. Tara, any ideas on how to clear those vines? Tara's mind raced, considering and discarding options. The ship's energy weapons. If we can get to the controls, we might be able to use them to cut through the organic matter without damaging the hull. They sprinted toward the ship, dodging grasping tendrils and leaping over newly formed chasms in the undulating ground. Nicholas boosted Tara up onto the hull, then followed, pulling the others up after him. As Tara worked to access the ship's weapon systems, a new threat emerged from the jungle. A group of slave traders, their own ship disabled by the electromagnetic pulse, charged towards them with weapons drawn. Nicholas met the slave trader leader head-on, their fight a brutal dance of strikes and countermoves. The others fended off the remaining attackers, using makeshift weapons and their knowledge of the shifting terrain to their advantage. The battle was fierce but brief. Nicholas, drawing on years of combat experience, finally managed to overpower the slave trader leader. He stood over his fallen opponent, chest heaving, when a cry from Tara drew his attention. "Nicholas, watch out!" He turned just in time to see another attacker lunging at him. Nicholas dodged, but not quickly enough to avoid a vicious slash across his abdomen. He stumbled, the pain sharp and immediate. Tara was there in an instant, her small frame supporting his larger one as she guided him to safety. The others finished off the remaining attackers while Tara tended to Nicholas's wound. Their eyes met as she worked, the intensity of the moment stripping away any remaining barriers between them. No words were needed. The depth of their connection was clear in every gentle touch, every shared look. With the immediate threat neutralized, they refocused on freeing the ship. Tara's plan worked beautifully, the energy weapons slicing through the organic matter effortlessly. As the last of the vines fell away, they piled into the ship. Nicholas, despite his injury, took the pilot's seat. The engines roared to life, and they lifted off just as the ground beneath them liquefied into a seething mass of plant life. They watched in awe as the planet transformed before their eyes, becoming a massive, pulsating organism that effectively sealed away the precursor control center. As they broke atmosphere, Nicholas set a course for the haven. He turned to Tara, who was already compiling their data on the precursor technology. "We've got a lot to discuss at this summit," he said, his voice tight with pain, but eyes bright with drive. Tara nodded, her fingers flying over the console. This technology could change everything. Energy production, medicine, space travel. But in the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic. As they approached the haven, the massive fleet came into view, still held at bay by the shimmering energy shield. Among the ships, Nicholas recognized the sleek lines of human government vessels, alongside the hodgepodge designs of independent systems, and even a few ominous slave trader ships that had arrived too late to join the initial attack. The comm crackled to life with Grayson's voice. "Welcome back. You've stirred up quite the hornet's nest out here. The summit's ready to begin as soon as you arrive." Nicholas exchanged a look with Tara, both acutely aware of the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. As they prepared to dock, they knew that the decisions made in the next few hours would shape the future of the galaxy. The ship touched down in the haven's main hangar. Nicholas stood, wincing slightly at the pull of his injury, and offered his hand to Tara. She took it, their fingers intertwining naturally. Together they walked towards the summit chamber, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Together, they would face it head-on. As they entered the summit chamber, a hush fell over the assembled leaders. Nicholas felt the weight of countless eyes upon them. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy gathered to decide the fate of the precursor technology. He squeezed Tara's hand, drawing strength from her presence, before they stepped up to the podium. "Esteemed delegates," Nicholas began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment, "we stand at a crossroads. The precursor technology we've uncovered has the potential to reshape our galaxy, to end suffering and usher in an era of unprecedented prosperity." Tara stepped forward, her fingers dancing across a holographic display. "Our findings indicate that the technology can be adapted for energy production, medical advancements, and even revolutionize space travel. But its power also makes it incredibly dangerous if misused." As they delved into the details of their proposal for equitable distribution, and responsible use, Nicholas noticed a subtle shift in the room. Several human delegates were exchanging furtive glances, their hands moving to their communication devices. Before he could react, the chamber shook violently. Alarms blared as the Haven's internal security systems detected a breach. "We're under attack," Grayson's voice crackled over the comm system. "A cloaked warship has penetrated the shield. They're heading for the main control center." Chaos erupted in the summit chamber. Nicholas sprang into action, his military training taking over. "Everyone, remain calm. Security teams form a perimeter around the delegates." He turned to Tara, his eyes conveying a mix of drive and concern. "I need you to secure the power core. If they take control of it, we lose everything." Tara nodded, her earlier hesitation replaced by resolute focus. "I'm on it. Be careful, Nicholas." As Tara assembled a team and raced towards the power core, Nicholas organized the available security forces. "Grayson, Zorn, I need you to evacuate the non-combatants. Use the secret passages if you have to." The unlikely pair nodded, setting aside their differences in the face of a common threat. They began ushering frightened delegates and civilians to safety, their knowledge of the Haven's layout proving invaluable. Nicholas led a counter-assault team towards the main control center. As they moved through the corridors, they encountered pockets of resistance, human soldiers in unfamiliar uniforms. "Take cover!" Nicholas shouted as energy bolts sizzled past. He returned fire, his aim precise and deadly. The narrow passages of the Haven became a battlefield, with both sides using the unique environment to their advantage. In the power core, Tara and her team arrived to find a group of human technicians already at work. Their fingers flew across alien interfaces, attempting to disable the Haven's defensive systems. "Stop them!" Tara ordered, drawing her weapon. She fired a warning shot, forcing the intruders to take cover. "We can't let them bring down the shield." As Tara engaged in a firefight with the rogue technicians, she simultaneously worked to counter their hacking attempts. Her mind raced, drawing connections between human and alien technology. With a burst of inspiration, she input a complex series of commands, effectively locking the intruders out of the system. Meanwhile, Nicholas fought his way towards the control center. The sound of battle echoed through the Haven, energy weapons discharged, the clash of hand-to-hand combat, and the ominous creaking of the asteroid base under strain. As he rounded a corner, Nicholas came face to face with a familiar figure. Admiral Vance, his former mentor. The older man's face was a mask of dogged tenacity. "Stand down, Nicholas," Vance ordered, his voice carrying the weight of years of command. "This technology belongs to humanity. We can't allow aliens to have access to it." Nicholas shook his head, his weapon trained on his former teacher. "You're wrong, Admiral. This isn't about human dominance. It's about building a better future for everyone." Their confrontation escalated into a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Years of shared training made their movements mirror each other, each anticipating the other's tactics. They traded blows in a deadly dance, neither able to gain a decisive advantage. As they fought, Tara's voice came through Nicholas's comm link. "Nicholas, I've secured the power core. The shield is holding, but they're trying to override the internal systems. I'm tracking their movements. There's a weak point in their formation near section G7. Nicholas allowed himself a small smile, even as he ducked under one of Vance's punches. Tara's tactical insight gave him renewed energy. He pressed his attack, forcing Vance back step by step. Throughout the Haven, the tide began to turn. Inspired by Nicholas and Tara's leadership, the various alien factions set aside their differences. Krakstau warriors fought alongside Vol'dun peacekeepers, while Zephyrian technicians worked with human engineers to fortify the Haven's defenses. This show of unity had an unexpected effect on Vance's forces. Many of the rogue soldiers, seeing the aliens they'd been taught to fear fighting to protect them, began to question their loyalties. Nicholas seized this moment of hesitation. With a series of swift strikes, he disarmed Vance and pinned him against the wall. "It's over, Admiral. Your men are laying down their weapons. Surrender now, and we can end this without further bloodshed." Vance's eyes darted around, taking in the scene of humans and aliens working together to secure the Haven. His shoulders slumped as the fight drained out of him. I surrender. As word advances capture spread, the remaining rogue forces quickly capitulated. The battle for the haven was over, but its impact was just beginning to be felt. Nicholas made his way to the power core, his body aching from the fight but his spirit soaring. He found Tara there, her clothes singed and her hair disheveled, but her eyes bright with triumph. Without a word, they fell into each other's arms. Their embrace was witnessed by many of the summit attendees who had emerged from hiding, and it became a powerful symbol of the unity they had all fought for. As they broke apart, Nicholas cupped Tara's face in his hands. "You were amazing out there. I couldn't have done this without you." Tara smiled, her hand covering his. "We did it together, all of us." They turned to face the assembled crowd, a mix of humans and aliens, all looking to them for guidance. Nicholas took a deep breath, realizing that their work was just getting started. "Let's get everyone back to the summit chamber," he said. "We have a lot to discuss about the future of this technology and our galaxy." As they made their way back to the chamber, Nicholas and Tara walked hand in hand, their actions during the battle having added new weight to their words. They were no longer just presenters of a radical idea, but living proof of what could be achieved through cooperation. The summit was about to reconvene, and with it, the chance to shape the destiny of countless worlds. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of commitment as they prepared to address the delegates once more. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, united in their vision of a brighter future for all species. As the delegates filed back into the summit chamber, the atmosphere had shifted palpably. The shared experience of facing a common threat had broken down barriers, creating an unexpected sense of unity among the diverse group. Nicholas and Tara stood at the podium once more, their hands still intertwined. The room fell silent as Nicholas cleared his throat. "Esteemed delegates," he began, his voice steady and clear, "the events of the past hours have shown us that we are stronger together. Now let us channel that strength into shaping our future." Tara stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "Our research into the precursor technology has revealed something extraordinary," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "We've discovered advanced medical applications that could potentially extend lifespans across all species." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Delegates leaned forward in their seats, their attention fully captured. "Imagine a galaxy where disease and aging are no longer the great equalizers," Nicholas continued, "where we can focus on progress and exploration instead of merely surviving." As they delved deeper into the presentation, detailing the potential applications and benefits, the delegates' initial skepticism gave way to genuine interest. Questions flew from all corners of the room, each species considering the implications for their own civilizations. However, as the discussion progressed, a new complication emerged. A Voldun representative raised a scaled hand, his multifaceted eyes glinting in the chamber's light. "This technology," he said, his translator struggling to convey the complexity of his native tongue. "It requires a specific mineral, does it not? One found only on a handful of worlds?" Tara nodded, pulling up a galactic map. "Yes, the mineral is indeed rare. One of the primary sources we've identified is a planet called Xerxes 4. The chamber erupted into murmurs as three different factions immediately recognized the name. Xerxes 4 was located in a disputed sector, its ownership a point of contention for years. Nicholas watched as the unity they'd worked so hard to foster began to fracture. He exchanged a quick glance with Tara, seeing his own concern mirrored in her eyes. They needed to act fast. "I propose a joint expedition to Xerxes 4, Nicholas said, his voice cutting through the growing discord. The room fell silent once more. A team comprised of representatives from each interested faction, including myself and Tara, will survey the planet together and establish a fair system for mineral extraction and distribution. The proposal hung in the air for a moment before the summit leaders began to nod slowly. It was a bold move, but one that could test their newfound spirit of cooperation. Over the next few hours, as the details were hammered out, a diverse team took shape. Joining Nicholas and Tara would be Grex, a Taurian mining expert with a gruff demeanor and unparalleled knowledge of exotic mineral extraction. Lyra, a Centauri diplomat, was added to the team, her serene composure masking a hidden agenda. To everyone's surprise, Zorn, the pirate captain who had aided them earlier, was also included, his skills and connections deemed valuable for navigating the lawless sectors surrounding Xerxes IV. As the newly formed expedition team gathered in the Haven's Hangar Bay, the air was thick with anticipation and underlying tension. Each member carried not only their personal belongings, but also the weight of their faction's expectations. Nicholas stood before the assembled team, his eyes scanning each face. "We're about to embark on a mission that could shape the future of our galaxy," he said. "It won't be easy, but if we work together, we can make this a new beginning for all our peoples." Tara stepped up beside him, her presence a steadying force. "Our ship is prepped and ready. We've loaded all the necessary equipment for mineral surveying and extraction." Grex grunted, his massive Taurian frame dwarfing the others. "Let's hope your fancy precursor tech can keep up with good old-fashioned Taurian mining know-how." Lyra smiled diplomatically, her iridescent skin shimmering under the hangar lights. "I'm sure we'll all have much to learn from each other on this journey." Zorn leaned against the ship's hull, a roguish grin on his face. "Just remember, if we run into any old friends of mine out there, let me do the talking." As they boarded the ship, Nicholas couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would test them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. He took his place in the pilot's seat, with Tara beside him as co-pilot. "All systems check out," Tara reported, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "We're ready for launch." Nicholas nodded, his hands gripping the controls. "Then let's not waste any more time. Xerxes IV awaits." The ship's engines roared to life, and they lifted off from the Haven's hangar bay. As they broke through the asteroid's protective shield and into open space, the vast expanse of the galaxy stretched out before them. Nicholas set a course for Xerxes IV, knowing that each member of the team carried their own motivations and secret orders. As the stars streaked by outside the viewports, he realized that navigating the complex interpersonal dynamics of the team might prove just as challenging as the mission itself. Little did they know that their journey to Xerxes IV would be fraught with dangers, both expected and unforeseen. As they plunged into the depths of space, the team was about to face their first test of unity and willpower. Resilience as they ventured into the unknown. As their ship entered Xerxes I's atmosphere, the team's anticipation grew palpable. The planet's surface came into view, a desolate landscape of jagged rock formations and swirling toxic mists. Nicholas guided the ship to a landing site near the entrance of a vast cave system, the ship's sensors having detected high concentrations of the rare mineral within. As the team disembarked, Nicholas conducted a final equipment check. He moved from person to person, ensuring each protective suit was properly sealed against the planet's poisonous atmosphere. "Remember," he said, his voice slightly distorted through the comm system, "we stay together and watch each other's backs. This isn't just about the mineral or the tech. It's about proving we can work as one." Tara nodded, her fingers dancing across her datapad as she calibrated their scanners. "I've set these to detect both the mineral deposits and any precursor energy signatures. We might find more than we bargained for down there." The team gathered at the mouth of the cave, the entrance yawning before them like a great maw. Nicholas took point, activating his suit's lights as he led them into the darkness. The cave system proved to be a treacherous labyrinth. Narrow passages gave way to sudden drops, the ground beneath their feet often unstable and shifting. Grex's expertise quickly proved invaluable. "Watch your step here," the Taurian growled, pointing out a section of seemingly solid ground. "That's a false floor. One wrong move, and you'll be falling for a long time." Zorn, bringing up the rear, chuckled. "Reminds me of the Kalimnos belt. You think this is bad? Try navigating an asteroid field where every rock's trying to kill you." As they ventured deeper, Tara's scanners began to light up. "I'm getting strong readings," she reported, her voice tinged with excitement. "The mineral deposits are increasing in concentration, but there's something else. Energy patterns similar to precursor tech." Nicholas considered this new information. "We can't pass up either lead. We'll split into two teams. Tara and I will follow the energy signatures. Grex, you take Lyra and Zorn and track down those mineral deposits." The team separated at a fork in the tunnel, each group heading down their respective paths. Nicholas and Tara's route led them through increasingly narrow passages, the walls seeming to close in around them. "Look," Tara whispered, pointing ahead. A faint blue glow emanated from a chamber just beyond the next bend. They entered cautiously, their eyes widening at the sight before them. The chamber was clearly of precursor origin, its walls lined with intricate, pulsing circuits. At the center stood a console, its surface covered in unfamiliar symbols. Tara approached it, her fingers hovering over the controls. "If I can access the database, we might uncover more about the medical technology we're after." As she worked, Nicholas patrolled the perimeter of the room, his soldier's instincts on high alert. Something about this place set him on edge. The air felt charged, almost alive with energy. Suddenly, the walls began to emit a soft, pulsating glow. Nicholas spun around, calling out to Tara, but his words were cut short as energy fields sprang to life around them. In an instant, they were separated from each other and their equipment. Meanwhile, Grex's team had found their way to a massive cavern. Crystalline formations of the rare mineral jutted from every surface, glittering in the light of their suits. As Grex began to assess the best extraction methods, Lyra's comm unit chirped softly. She stepped away ostensibly to get a better scan and activated her secure channel. The message she received made her blood run cold. Her true mission was revealed: to secure the mineral rights exclusively for her government, bypassing the agreed-upon cooperation. Lyra's hand hovered over her weapon, her mind racing. The camaraderie she'd developed with the team warred against her loyalty to her people. As she hesitated, Zorn's eyes narrowed, his pirate's instincts sensing the sudden tension. In the precursor chamber, Nicholas and Tara struggled against their confinement. "The fields!" Tara called out, her voice muffled by the energy barrier. "They're reacting to our biometrics, specifically our emotional states." Nicholas pressed his hand against the field, feeling it ripple under his touch. "So to deactivate them, we need to... what? Control our emotions?" Tara shook her head, a realization dawning. "Not control, express." Their eyes met across the chamber, understanding passing between them. The challenges they'd faced together, the trust they'd built, the unspoken feelings that had been growing, all of it had led to this moment. As Nicholas and Tara began to confront and express their deepening emotions, the energy fields fluctuated, responding to their biochemical changes. The intimacy of the moment brought them closer, not just emotionally, but physically as the fields began to weaken. In the mineral cavern, the situation was rapidly deteriorating. Grex's initial extraction attempts had triggered a series of tremors, threatening to bring the entire cave system down around them. Zorn, drawing on years of experience in unstable environments, quickly formulated a plan. "We need to reinforce those support columns," he shouted over the rumbling of the cave. "Lyra, I need your help with the stabilizers." Lyra froze, torn between her secret orders and the imminent danger. The cave groaned ominously, forcing her hand. With a decisive nod, she moved to assist Zorn, pushing aside her mission in favor of survival. As the two groups grappled with their respective challenges, the fate of the expedition, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance. The true test of their unity was just beginning, with forces both ancient and immediate conspiring to push them to their limits. Limits. The true test of their unity was just beginning, with forces both ancient and immediate conspiring to push them to their breaking point. As the tremors subsided and the energy fields dissipated, the team regrouped at their ship, each carrying the weight of their experiences. Nicholas and Tara exchanged meaningful glances, their connection deepened by their shared ordeal in the precursor chamber. Grex, Lyra, and Zorn wore expressions of relief tinged with lingering tension, the challenges they'd faced in the mineral cavern having forged an unexpected bond. With their mission complete, they set course for the Galactic Summit, their ship laden with precious mineral samples and data drives full of precursor technology information. The journey back was filled with animated discussions as they prepared their presentation, each member contributing their unique perspective to the narrative of their expedition. Upon their return, they found the summit in a state of heightened anticipation. News of their success had spread rapidly, igniting a spark of hope among the assembled factions. As Nicholas guided their ship into the docking bay, he could see the expectant faces of diplomats and leaders from across the galaxy peering through the viewports. The team disembarked to a chorus of cheers and applause, a far cry from the tense atmosphere they'd left behind. Nicholas stepped forward, Tara at his side, their proximity drawing curious glances from the crowd. "We have returned with more than we could have hoped for," Nicholas announced, his voice carrying across the docking bay. "But the true treasure we've discovered is the power of our unity." As they made their way to the central chamber, Nicholas noticed the shift in the political landscape. Factions that had been at odds now stood side by side, engaged in earnest conversation. Their successful cooperation had inspired others to set aside their differences, if only temporarily. The presentation began with Tara taking the lead, her fingers dancing across a holographic display as she explained their findings. "The mineral deposits on Xerxes 4 are even more abundant than we initially believed," she said, projecting a detailed geological map. "But that's only half of our discovery." Nicholas stepped forward, activating a second display. "We also uncovered advanced precursor medical technology," he continued, showing schematics of complex biomechanical devices. "Our preliminary analysis suggests that when combined with the properties of the rare mineral, this technology could revolutionize healthcare across the galaxy." The chamber erupted into a mix of excited murmurs and concerned whispers. Nicholas scanned the faces of the summit leaders, noting the conflict playing out across their features. They recognized the potential for great advancements, but fear of the unknown clouded their judgment. One of the Centauri delegates rose, her iridescent skin shimmering with agitation. "While the benefits sound promising, we must consider the destabilizing effect such technology could have on our societies. Are we prepared for the consequences of extended lifespans and enhanced empathic abilities between species?" Before Nicholas could respond, a commotion at the back of the chamber drew everyone's attention. A group of armed individuals burst through the doors, their weapons trained on the assembled delegates. "The consequences?" a voice boomed from behind the armed group. A man stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with fanatical intensity. "The consequence is the end of human dominance in this galaxy, and we will not stand for it." Nicholas's military instincts kicked in immediately. He dove for cover, pulling Tara down with him as the first shots rang out. "It's Darius Vex," he hissed, recognizing the leader of the human supremacist group. "We need to protect the artifacts and data." As chaos erupted in the chamber, Nicholas quickly organized a defense. He motioned to the security forces from various factions, who had already begun to engage the attackers. "You, secure the perimeter," he shouted to a group of Taurian guards. "Centauri team, evacuate the non-combatants. Zorn, I need you to help me reach the secure vault." Tara squeezed his arm. "I'll secure the precursor data," she said, her eyes filled with tenacity. Nicholas nodded, knowing she was more than capable of handling the task. As they split up, Nicholas led a small team through the corridors of the summit facility, fighting their way past pockets of Vex's forces. The sounds of battle echoed through the hallways. Energy weapons discharging, the clash of hand-to-hand combat, and the shouts of both attackers and defenders. They reached the secure vault just in time to see Darius Vex input the final code on the lock. The door slid open, revealing the glittering mineral samples within. "Vex!" Nicholas called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "This ends now." The human supremacist turned, a sneer twisting his features. "Oh, it's only beginning, Nicholas," he said, his cybernetic implants glowing ominously. "Humanity's destiny is to rule the stars, not share them with alien filth." Nicholas launched himself at Vex, their bodies colliding in a flurry of strikes and counterstrikes. Vex's enhanced strength made him a formidable opponent, but Nicholas's years of combat experience allowed him to hold his own. As they grappled, Nicholas could hear the sounds of battle intensifying throughout the facility. He knew that Tara and the others were facing their own challenges, fighting to preserve the future they'd all worked so hard to build. With a powerful kick, Nicholas sent Vex stumbling backward into the vault. Mineral samples crashed to the floor, scattering in a brilliant display of color and light. Vex regained his footing, his eyes darting between Nicholas and the precious resources surrounding them. "You're too late," Vex snarled, reaching for a device on his belt. "If I can't have it, no one will." Nicholas's eyes widened as he realized what Vex was about to do. He lunged forward, knowing that the fate of their mission, and perhaps the galaxy itself, hung in the balance of the next few seconds. Seconds. Time seemed to slow as Nicholas closed the distance, his hand outstretched to stop Vex from activating the device. In that moment, a brilliant flash of light filled the vault, temporarily blinding both men. When their vision cleared, they found themselves surrounded by a shimmering energy field. Standing just outside the barrier was Tara, her hand on a precursor control panel she had uncovered. "I think that's quite enough, gentlemen," she said, her voice firm but tinged with relief. "The mineral samples are secure, and you're both contained until security arrives." Nicholas couldn't help but smile, despite the gravity of the situation. "Impeccable timing, as always, Tara." As Vex was taken into custody and the summit reconvened, Nicholas and Tara found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The events of the day had drastically altered the political landscape, forcing the assembled leaders to confront the reality of their shared future. In the days that followed, intense negotiations took place. The Joint Task Force, initially proposed to oversee the research and distribution of the precursor medical technology and rare minerals, became a focal point of discussion. Many argued that Nicholas and Tara, given their unique experiences and abilities, were the ideal candidates to lead this initiative. However, as Nicholas stood before the summit leaders, he could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He glanced at Tara, seeing the same conflicted emotions in her eyes. "While we're honored by your trust," Nicholas began, addressing the assembly, "Tara and I believe our skills would be best utilized in a slightly different capacity." Tara stepped forward, continuing their shared thought. "We propose a compromise. We'll oversee the initial stages of the research and distribution efforts, establishing the framework for the Joint Task Force. But we must insist on maintaining our freedom to investigate the newly awakened precursor sites across the galaxy." A murmur of discussion rippled through the chamber. The Centauri delegate, who had earlier voiced concerns about the technology's impact, rose once again. "And what of the potential dangers these sites may pose? We've already seen the destruction one fanatic can cause with limited access to such power." Nicholas nodded, acknowledging the valid concern. "That's precisely why we need to be out there, exploring and understanding these sites firsthand. Our experiences make us uniquely qualified to handle whatever we might encounter." After hours of debate, the summit leaders reluctantly agreed to the arrangement. As Nicholas and Tara began the process of establishing the framework for the Joint Task Force, they found themselves working closely with Grayson and Zorn, whose experiences during the recent crisis had proven invaluable. Weeks passed in a blur of activity, with Nicholas and Tara dividing their time between overseeing the initial research into the precursor medical technology and preparing for their future expeditions. The first breakthroughs in combining the rare mineral with the ancient tech were promising, hinting at medical marvels that could revolutionize healthcare across the galaxy. As they worked, Nicholas and Tara underwent a series of medical procedures, enhancing their bodies with some of the newly developed precursor-inspired technology. The process was intense, pushing the limits of their physiology, but the results were remarkable. Nicholas found his reflexes and strength significantly improved, while Tara's already impressive cognitive abilities were sharpened to an almost preternatural degree. An unexpected side effect of the enhancements soon became apparent. The empathic connection that had been growing between Nicholas and Tara since their shared experience in the precursor chamber intensified, allowing them to communicate with an efficiency that bordered on telepathy. Their new abilities were put to the test sooner than expected. As they finalized preparations to hand over day-to-day operations of the task force to Grayson and Zorn, an urgent transmission came through from a distant outpost on the frontier of known space. The message, fragmented and distorted, spoke of a massive precursor structure that had suddenly activated, causing widespread disruptions in the sector. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a glance, their enhanced connection allowing them to reach a decision without words. Within hours, they were aboard the Starfire, a newly commissioned exploration vessel equipped with the latest technology and staffed by a diverse crew of experts from various species. As Nicholas guided the ship out of the docking bay, he felt a surge of excitement mixed with trepidation. Their journey toward the frontier was far from smooth. As they pushed deeper into uncharted space, they encountered increasing gravitational anomalies and spatial distortions. Nicholas relied heavily on his enhanced piloting skills and the Starfire's advanced systems to navigate safely through the treacherous conditions. Tara worked tirelessly at her station, analyzing the streams of data pouring in from the ship's sensors. "Nicholas," she called out, her voice tense, "I'm detecting an enormous energy signature ahead. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." As they emerged from a particularly dense field of spatial distortions, the crew of the Starfire collectively gasped. Before them loomed a massive precursor space station, its intricate geometries pulsing with otherworldly energy. The structure dwarfed their ship, stretching out beyond the range of their visual sensors. "My God," Nicholas breathed, his enhanced vision picking out details that would have been invisible to his unaugmented eyes. "It's beautiful." Their awe was short-lived. Without warning, the Starfire shuddered violently, caught in the grip of an immensely powerful tractor beam. Nicholas's hands flew over the controls, attempting evasive maneuvers, but the ship was inexorably drawn toward the station. "All hands, brace for impact," Nicholas shouted as the Starfire was pulled into a cavernous docking bay. The moment they crossed the threshold, every system on the ship went dark, leaving them floating powerless in the alien structure. As emergency lighting flickered to life, Nicholas turned to Tara, their enhanced connection thrumming with shared adrenaline and perseverance. "Well," he said, a wry smile playing at his lips, "I'd say we found what we were looking for." Tara nodded, her eyes already scanning the alien architecture visible through the viewports. "The question is," she replied, her voice low, "what exactly have we gotten ourselves into?" With the Starfire temporarily disabled, and the crew looking to them for guidance, Nicholas and Tara knew that their next actions would be crucial. The mysteries of the precursor station lay before them, along with untold dangers and possibilities. As they prepared to venture into the unknown, both felt the weight of responsibility settling on their shoulders. Whatever they discovered here had the potential to change the course of galactic history, for better or worse. Worse. As they stepped out of the Starfire's airlock, Nicholas and Tara found themselves in a vast, dimly lit chamber. The air was thick with an electric charge that made their skin tingle. "This way," Tara whispered, her enhanced senses picking up faint energy signatures. They moved cautiously through winding corridors, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. After navigating a maze of alien architecture, they entered a cavernous room dominated by a massive cylindrical structure. At its center, a stasis pod pulsed with a soft, blue light. "That must be it," Nicholas said, his voice barely audible. As they approached her, the pod's light intensified, pulsating in an almost hypnotic rhythm. The entity inside stirred, its form shifting and changing like liquid mercury. Suddenly, tendrils of energy shot out from the pod, enveloping Nicholas and Tara in a web of crackling light. They gasped in unison as the energy interfaced with their precursor-enhanced bodies. A torrent of information flooded their minds. Images, sensations, and concepts beyond human comprehension threatened to overwhelm them. Nicholas gritted his teeth, drawing on years of military training to maintain his focus. "Tara," he managed to say, reaching out to steady her, "stay with me. We can do this." Their enhanced empathic link flared to life, allowing them to share the mental burden. Slowly, the chaos began to coalesce into coherent thoughts. "Nicholas," Tara said, her voice strained, "I think I understand. This station, it's not a weapon. It's a renewal system for the galaxy." As the information continued to pour in, they grasped the true nature of the precursor station. It was designed to rejuvenate dying stars and restore barren planets, a cosmic gardener tending to the galaxy's health. But something's wrong, Nicholas realized. It's been inactive for too long. The system is malfunctioning, interpreting all change as decay. They shared a look of understanding. To save countless worlds from the station's misguided attempts at renewal, they needed to reactivate the precursor entity and correct its programming. Nicholas and Tara positioned themselves on either side of the stasis pod, their enhanced bodies humming with energy. As they began the intricate process of awakening the ancient being, their mental and physical connection deepened, pushing the limits of their new abilities. The air around them crackled with power as they worked in perfect synchronization. Tara's fingers danced over holographic interfaces, while Nicholas channeled energy through his body, stabilizing the awakening process. Just as they were making progress, alarms blared throughout the station. The sound of distant explosions reached their ears. "The extremists," Nicholas growled. "They've breached the outer defenses." He looked at Tara, torn between protecting her and continuing their vital task. She nodded, understanding without words. "Go," she said. "I can handle this. Stop them from reaching us." Nicholas squeezed her hand before sprinting toward the chamber's entrance. He arrived just as the doors burst open, revealing a group of heavily armed extremists, led by a towering figure with glowing cybernetic implants. "Vex," Nicholas snarled, recognizing the extremist leader. "Step aside, Nicholas," Vex sneered. "The power of the precursors belongs to humanity alone." Nicholas's enhanced muscles tensed as he settled into a fighting stance. "Not a chance." Vex charged, his cybernetic limbs propelling him forward with inhuman speed. Nicholas met the attack head-on, his own augmented reflexes allowing him to dodge the initial assault. The two enhanced humans clashed in a blur of motion, trading blows that would have shattered ordinary bones. Nicholas's tactical mind worked overtime, analyzing Vex's fighting style and looking for weaknesses. As they fought, Nicholas maneuvered them away from the central controls in the awakening precursor. He led Vex on a deadly dance across the chamber, using the alien architecture to his advantage. Behind them, Tara continued her work, sweat beading on her brow as she pushed her enhanced mind to its limits. The precursor entity was slowly regaining consciousness, its form becoming more defined with each passing second. Nicholas ducked under a vicious swing from Vex, feeling the air displacement as the cybernetic fist missed his head by millimeters. He countered with a series of rapid strikes to Vex's midsection, targeting the junctions between flesh and machine. Vex stumbled back, his eyes blazing with fury. "You can't stop progress, Nicholas. Humanity must evolve." "This isn't evolution," Nicholas shot back, circling his opponent. "It's extinction." He feinted left, then dropped low, sweeping Vex's legs out from under him. As the extremist leader fell, Nicholas capitalized on the moment. He activated a nearby control panel, erecting a containment field around Vex. With the immediate threat neutralized, Nicholas rushed back to Tara's side. He arrived just as the stasis pod opened with a hiss of escaping gases. The precursor entity emerged, a being of pure energy that shimmered and pulsed with otherworldly beauty. It hovered before them, its form constantly shifting and changing. Complex patterns of light danced across its surface, a language that their enhanced minds could now interpret. The entity spoke of the station's true purpose, of guiding young species towards cooperation and advancement. As Nicholas and Tara absorbed this revelation, they realized the weight of the decision before them. The precursor offered them a choice: take control of the station's incredible power, or allow it to complete its final task before shutting down forever. Before they could respond, a violent surge of energy rocked the chamber. They turned to see Vex, his body crackling with power, overloading his cybernetic implants in a desperate bid for control. "No!" Nicholas shouted as he realized the danger. The feedback loop between Vex's implants and the station's systems was creating a chain reaction that threatened to tear the entire structure apart. Alarms blared as the station began to shake. The precursor entity pulsed with urgency, initiating the shutdown sequence for the station. Nicholas and Tara shared a determined look. Without a word, they moved to the main control interface, their bodies glowing with the combined energy of their enhancements in the precursor technology. As the chamber around them began to fracture, they worked in perfect unison, their enhanced empathic link allowing them to function as one. The precursor entity hovered nearby, guiding their actions as they fought to contain the energy surge and stabilize the station. Time seemed to slow as Nicholas and Tara poured every ounce of their enhanced abilities into the task. The fate of not just the station, but countless lives across the affected star systems hung in the balance as they initiated the final sequence. The control interface blazed with light under their touch, the station's vast energies flowing through their bodies. As the critical moment approached, Nicholas and Tara stood at the precipice of a decision that would shape the future of the galaxy. Galaxy. As their hands moved in perfect synchronization across the control interface, a blinding surge of energy coursed through the system. Nicholas and Tara gasped in unison, their bodies rigid as the raw power of the precursor technology flowed through them. The station's systems pulsed and flickered, reconfiguring themselves in response to the unique biosignatures of the two humans. The precursor entity, a shimmering presence of pure energy, expanded around them, its patterns shifting rapidly. Nicholas! Tara's voice echoed in his mind, their enhanced empathic link amplified by the station's energy. Something's happening. I can feel the station. It's adapting to us. Before Nicholas could respond, the entity enveloped them both in a cocoon of swirling light. Images and sensations flooded their consciousness as the precursor guided them through the process of merging with the station's core systems. Their minds expanded, intertwining with vast networks of alien technology. Nicholas felt as if he were simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, his consciousness stretching across the expanse of the station. Beside him, Tara's presence burned bright, her thoughts and emotions intermingling with his own. Together, they focused their combined will on the immediate threat. The energy surge from Vex's cybernetic overload still raged through the station systems, threatening to tear it apart. Nicholas and Tara, now intimately connected to the station's core, directed the chaotic energies away from critical systems. Sweat beaded on their brows as they worked, their physical bodies straining under the immense mental effort. The station shuddered and groaned around them, but slowly the destructive energies began to dissipate. As they fought to stabilize the station, Nicholas and Tara's bodies began to change. Their skin shimmered with an otherworldly glow, and intricate patterns of light pulsed beneath the surface. The strain of channeling such immense power pushed their enhanced physiology to its limits and beyond. Outside the central chamber, the Starfire crew battled the remaining Extremist forces. Zorn, the ship's tactical officer, coordinated their efforts with preternatural efficiency. Team Alpha, secure the eastern corridor. His voice crackled over the comm system. Beta Squad, push forward to the central hub. We need to buy Nicholas and Tara more time. Back in the control room, Nicholas and Tara finally managed to contain the last of the destructive energy. As the immediate danger passed, the true nature of the precursor station revealed itself to them. It's incredible, Tara breathed, her voice filled with awe. This network of stations, it's meant to nurture young civilizations, to guide them towards peace and advancement. Nicholas nodded, his mind still reeling from the influx of information. We hold the key to unlocking this potential for the entire galaxy. The responsibility is overwhelming. As they processed this revelation, they became acutely aware of the changes wrought by their deep connection to the station. Memories flowed between them, emotions amplified and shared. Nicholas felt Tara's childhood fears as if they were his own, while she experienced the adrenaline rush of his combat training. The precursor entity pulsed with urgency, sensing the strain on their bodies and minds. It initiated a separation process, carefully disentangling their consciousness from the station systems. As they disconnected, Nicholas and Tara felt a portion of the entity's vast knowledge and capabilities transfer into their already enhanced bodies. With a final surge of energy, they were ejected from the control interface. Nicholas stumbled, catching Tara as she swayed on her feet. Their bodies glowed with residual precursor energy, the air around them crackling with power. "Are you okay?" Nicholas asked, his voice hoarse. Tara nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. "I'm different. We're different, Nicholas. I can still feel you in my mind." Before they could fully process their transformation, Zorn burst into the chamber, his weapon at the ready. "Area secured, sir," he reported, his eyes widening as he took in their altered appearance. "What happened to you two?" Nicholas straightened, his enhanced senses taking in the state of the station. "We've stabilized the core and neutralized the threat, but we've also unlocked something far greater than we could have imagined." As Zorn began coordinating with the rest of the crew to secure the station, Nicholas and Tara moved to the captured extremists. Vex lay unconscious, his cybernetic implants smoking and sparking. "We can't risk transporting them conventionally," Tara said, her newly expanded mind quickly analyzing the situation. "The stasis pods should keep them contained until we can hand them over to the authorities." Nicholas nodded, already moving towards the pods. As they worked to secure the prisoners, he felt Tara's concern and exhaustion as clearly as his own. Their bond, already strong before, had become something far deeper and more intimate. With the immediate tasks handled, they returned to the central chamber. The precursor entity, now little more than a faint shimmer in the air, conveyed its final message. "There are ancient threats still lurking in the dark corners of the galaxy," Nicholas translated, his brow furrowed. "We need to be prepared." As the entity faded from existence, the station began to reconfigure itself. Walls shifted and sections compacted, the entire structure shrinking to a more manageable size. With a series of metallic clanks and whirs, it attached itself to the Starfire, becoming a seamless extension of the ship. "Looks like we're taking it with us," Tara observed, a small smile playing at her lips despite her exhaustion. Nicholas turned to Zorn, who stood waiting for orders. "Prepare the ship for departure. We need to return to known space and report our findings. The Galactic Council needs to be informed of what we've discovered here." As the crew rushed to comply, Nicholas and Tara made their way to the Starfire's bridge. They moved in perfect synchronization, their enhanced bodies still adjusting to the changes wrought by their experience. Standing before the view screen, they watched as the stars came into view. The vastness of space stretched out before them, promising new challenges and discoveries. Nicholas felt Tara's mix of excitement and apprehension mirroring his own. "Ready?" he asked, though he already knew her answer. Tara nodded, her hand finding his. "Always." With a surge of power, the Starfire, now enhanced with precursor technology, broke free from the sector's gravitational pull. As they set course for the heart of galactic civilization, Nicholas and Tara shared a look of commitment. Their journey, they knew, had only just begun. As the Starfire accelerated away from the ancient station, Nicholas and Tara felt a surge of energy course through their bodies. The precursor technology pulsed within them, intertwining with their enhanced physiology in ways they couldn't have anticipated. Days into their journey back to known space, Tara awoke with a start. Her skin tingled with an odd sensation, and she noticed faint blue sparks dancing across her fingertips. "Nicholas," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. Nicholas rushed to her side, his own body moving with uncanny speed and grace. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Tara held up her hand, watching as tiny arcs of energy leapt between her fingers. I think I can feel the energy fields around us," she said, her eyes wide with a mix of wonder and apprehension. Nicholas reached out to touch her hand, and as their skin made contact, a visible spark jumped between them. He jerked back, more surprised than hurt. "That's new," he muttered, flexing his fingers. "And I feel stronger, faster. It's like my body is constantly adapting." Before they could discuss their changes further, an alert sounded from the bridge. Zorn's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy signature ahead. You need to see this." Nicholas and Tara shared a look before hurrying to the bridge. As they entered, the main view screen flickered to life, revealing a staggering sight. A vast fleet of ships, numbering in the thousands, filled the space before them. "Are they hostile?" Nicholas asked, tensing for a potential confrontation. Zorn shook his head. "Negative, sir. They appear to be refugees. We're receiving distress calls from multiple vessels." Tara stepped forward, her newfound abilities allowing her to sense the fear and desperation emanating from the fleet. "They need help," she said softly. As the Starfire approached, they made contact with the lead ship. A holographic image appeared on the bridge, showing a being unlike any they had encountered before. Its body was sleek and aquatic, with shimmering scales and large, expressive eyes. "Anam, I am Naran of the Niads," the being said, its voice melodious yet tinged with sorrow. "We flee from our dying world, destroyed by the greed of outsiders." Nicholas listened intently as Naran explained their plight. The Niad homeworld, once a paradise of vast oceans and thriving marine ecosystems, was being systematically destroyed by an aggressive terraforming process. "Who's responsible for this?" Nicholas asked, his face hardened in anger. Naran's image flickered slightly. "A powerful corporation from your part of the galaxy. They call themselves Galactic Corp." The name hit Nicholas like a physical blow. Galactic Corp, the same conglomerate he had fought against years ago when battling the slave trade. Their reach had grown, but their methods remained as ruthless as ever. Tara placed a hand on Nicholas's arm, feeling his turmoil through their enhanced link. "We have to help them," she said, her voice filled with dedication. Nicholas nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Zorn, set a course for the Niad homeworld. We're going to see this for ourselves." As they approached the planet, the scale of the devastation became clear. Vast swathes of ocean had already receded, leaving barren wastelands in their wake. The atmosphere shimmered with an unnatural haze, evidence of the ongoing terraforming process. Tara's enhanced senses detected a network of orbital stations surrounding the planet. "Those must be the terraforming control centers," she said, her fingers dancing over the sensor controls. "They're heavily defended." Nicholas studied the tactical display, noting the formidable fleet protecting the stations. A direct assault would be suicide, but perhaps there was another way. "The precursor technology," he mused aloud. "If we can use it to mask our approach, we might be able to infiltrate the main control station." Tara nodded, already interfacing with the ship's systems. "I can create an energy field to mimic the background radiation. It should make us invisible to their sensors." As they finalized their plan, Nicholas felt a mix of anticipation and concern. Their newfound abilities gave them an edge, but they were still venturing into unknown territory. The fate of an entire species hung in the balance. "Prepare for stealth approach," Nicholas ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We have one shot at this. Let's make it count." The Starfire glided silently toward the largest of the orbital stations, cloaked in a shimmering field of precursor energy. As they neared their target, Nicholas and Tara shared a determined look. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Together, the Starfire accelerated towards the orbital stations, its precursor-enhanced systems humming with power. As they approached the largest station, Nicholas felt a surge of energy coursing through his body. He placed his hand on the control panel, and to his amazement, the ship's systems responded instantly to his thoughts. "Tara, are you seeing this?" he asked, his voice tinged with awe. Tara nodded, her eyes wide. "I can feel the energy fields around us. It's like I can manipulate them with my mind." They shared a look of understanding. Their transformation had given them abilities beyond what they had imagined. As the Starfire drew closer to the station, Tara focused her newfound powers, creating a shimmering energy field that enveloped the ship. "Stealth field engaged," Zorn reported from his station. "We're invisible to their sensors." Nicholas nodded, his enhanced senses allowing him to perceive the complex network of defenses surrounding the station. "Take us in, nice and easy." The Starfire glided silently through the station's outer defenses, its crew tense with anticipation. As they neared the main control center, Nicholas and Tara prepared to disembark. "Zorn, you have the bridge," Nicholas ordered. "We'll infiltrate the control room and shut down the terraforming process." With a final shared glance, Nicholas and Tara stepped onto the station. Their enhanced bodies moved with fluid grace as they navigated the corridors, avoiding patrols with preternatural ease. Upon reaching the control room, they encountered a squad of Galactic Corp security forces. Nicholas moved with lightning speed, disarming 2 guards before they could even raise their weapons. Tara focused her energy manipulation abilities, creating a field that immobilized the remaining guards. "We need to hurry," Tara said, her fingers dancing over the control panel. The terraforming process is reaching a critical stage. Nicholas joined her at the console, his mind interfacing directly with the station systems. Together, they began the complex process of reversing the terraforming operation. As they worked, alarms blared throughout the station. "Security breach in the main control room," a computerized voice announced. "All personnel to battle stations." Nicholas gritted his teeth, pushing his enhanced mind to its limits as he navigated the intricate web of terraforming controls. Tara stood beside him, her hands raised, maintaining a protective energy field around them. Minutes stretched into hours as they fought against the station systems. Sweat beaded on their brows, their bodies glowing with the strain of channeling such immense power. Finally, with a massive surge of energy, they succeeded in reversing the process. The view screen showed the planet below, its oceans swelling, atmosphere clearing, as the natural balance was restored. Exhausted beyond measure, Nicholas and Tara collapsed to the floor, their enhanced bodies pushed beyond their limits. The last thing they saw before losing consciousness was the grateful faces of the Niads on the screen, their world saved. They awoke to the familiar hum of the Starfire's engines. Opening their eyes, Nicholas and Tara found themselves in the ship's medical bay, surrounded by concerned crew members. Zorn stepped forward, relief evident on his face. "Welcome back, Captain. Commander, you've been unconscious for 5 days." Nicholas tried to sit up, noticing immediately that something was different. His muscles felt denser, more responsive. Beside him, Tara's skin seemed to shimmer with a subtle, iridescent glow. "What happened?" Tara asked, her voice stronger than she expected. The ship's doctor, Dr. Ilara, approached with a holographic display. "Your bodies have undergone significant changes," she explained. "Your DNA has been altered, incorporating elements of precursor genetic code. Your neural pathways have been rewired, enhancing your cognitive abilities and maintaining your empathic link even while unconscious." Nicholas and Tara exchanged looks of amazement and a hint of apprehension. Their connection felt stronger than ever, thoughts and emotions flowing freely between them. "The Niad homeworld?" Nicholas asked, suddenly remembering their mission. Zorn nodded, a small smile on his face. "Fully restored. The refugee fleet has begun the process of returning home." "You did it, sir." As they absorbed this news, an alert sounded from the bridge. "Captain to the bridge," came the urgent call. "We're receiving a transmission from galactic authorities." Nicholas and Tara made their way to the bridge, marveling at their new physical capabilities. As they entered, the main view screen flickered to life, showing a stern-faced official from the Galactic Council. "Captain Nicholas, we require an immediate debriefing on the events at the Niad homeworld and the fate of the Galactic Corps station," the official stated. "Your use of unauthorized technology to interfere with a corporate operation, regardless of its ethical implications, must be addressed." Before Nicholas could respond, long-range sensors blared a warning. Zorn's fingers flew over his console, his eyes widening in shock. "Captain, we're detecting an incoming fleet," he reported. "Composition unknown. It doesn't match any known galactic records." Nicholas felt a chill run down his spine, remembering the precursor entity's warning about ancient threats lurking in the galaxy. He shared a look with Tara, feeling her mix of excitement and apprehension through their enhanced bond. "Counselor, I'm afraid we'll have to postpone that debriefing," Nicholas said, turning back to the view screen. "We have a potentially hostile situation developing here." As the unknown fleet drew closer, Nicholas and Tara took their positions on the bridge. Their bodies hummed with precursor energy, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The consequences of their actions, the true nature of their transformation, and the identity of this new threat all remained to be seen. The Starfire's enhanced systems came to life around them, responding to their very thoughts. As they prepared to face both the scrutiny of the galactic authorities and the approaching unknown fleet, Nicholas and Tara knew that their journey was far from finished. The next chapter of their adventure was just beginning, and the future of the stars might very well hang in the balance. Balance. As Nicholas and Tara braced themselves for the impending confrontation, a blinding flash erupted from the planet below. The bridge crew shielded their eyes as the view screen automatically dimmed to compensate. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy surge from the Niad homeworld, Zorn reported, his fingers flying across the control panel. Nicholas leaned forward, his enhanced senses allowing him to perceive patterns in the swirling energy. Tara, are you seeing this? She nodded, her eyes wide with wonder. It's like the planet itself is awakening. The Starfire's sensors flared to life, responding to their thoughts. A three-dimensional hologram materialized in the center of the bridge, displaying a detailed view of the planet's surface. The oceans pulsed with an intense blue light, revealing intricate patterns beneath the waves. That's no natural phenomenon, Nicholas murmured. He turned to the communications officer. Inform the Galactic Council we'll have to postpone our debriefing. Something of potentially greater importance has emerged. As the officer relayed the message, Nicholas locked eyes with Tara. Their enhanced connection allowed for a wordless exchange of thoughts and emotions. They both knew they had to investigate this new development. Zorn, take us down, Nicholas ordered. Full stealth mode. Let's see what we're dealing with. The Starfire descended through the planet's atmosphere, its precursor enhanced systems easily compensating for the turbulent energy field that enveloped the ship. As they neared the ocean's surface, the blue glow intensified, revealing a massive structure rising from the depths. By the stars, Tara whispered, her voice filled with awe. A colossal pyramid, constructed of an iridescent material that defied classification, emerged from the water. It dwarfed the Starfire, its smooth surface reflecting the ship's image like a mirror. Nicholas activated the ship-wide comm. Prepare a shuttle for immediate launch. Tara and I will lead a small team to investigate. Minutes later, Nicholas, Tara, and 3 crew members approached the pyramid in a sleek shuttle. As they neared, a section of the structure's surface shimmered and dissolved, revealing an entrance large enough for their craft to pass through. Well, that's an invitation if I ever saw one, Nicholas said, guiding the shuttle into the opening. They emerged into a vast chamber that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The interior space appeared larger than the exterior dimensions of the pyramid should have allowed. Advanced precursor technology lined the walls, pulsing with energy. As the team disembarked, Nicholas and Tara approached a central console that bore a striking resemblance to the one they had encountered on the precursor station. Without hesitation, they placed their hands on the smooth surface. The chamber came to life around them. A holographic projection filled the air, displaying an intricate map of the galaxy. Countless points of light flickered across its expanse, each representing a precursor installation. It's a network, Tara said, her mind racing to process the information flooding her enhanced senses. These installations, they're all connected. Nicholas nodded, his eyes fixed on a cluster of lights at the edge of the map. And look there. That's the source of our mystery fleet. Before they could investigate further, the pyramid shuddered. Sections of the floor retracted, revealing pools of luminescent liquid that began to rise rapidly. Everyone, move to higher ground, Nicholas shouted, ushering the team towards an elevated platform. Tara remained at the console, her hands moving with inhuman speed as she attempted to deactivate the security protocols. Suddenly, her body went rigid, her eyes rolling back as a torrent of information overwhelmed her enhanced mind. Tara! Nicholas cried out, lunging towards her as she began to collapse. Time seemed to slow as Nicholas's heightened reflexes kicked in. He caught Tara mid-fall, but their combined momentum carried them towards one of the glowing pools. In a split second, Nicholas made his decision. He clutched Tara tightly and allowed them to plunge into the luminescent liquid. The sensation was indescribable. Every cell in their bodies seemed to ignite with energy. Nicholas felt his consciousness expanding, merging with Tara's, and reaching out to touch the very fabric of the precursor network. In what felt like both an eternity and an instant, they emerged from the pool. The chamber had transformed around them, the pyramid now hovering in low orbit above the Niad homeworld. Nicholas looked down at his hands, marveling at the metallic sheen that now covered his skin. Beside him, Tara's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, mirroring the luminescence of the pool. With a mere thought, Nicholas deactivated the pyramid's remaining security measures. He turned to Tara, their new telepathic link allowing for instantaneous communication. "We've unlocked it," Tara said, her voice resonating with newfound power. "The full potential of the precursor network." As they stood atop the orbital pyramid, their bodies radiating with precursor energy, Nicholas and Tara faced the looming challenges ahead. The unknown fleet drew ever closer, while the demands of the galactic authorities grew more insistent. Nicholas gazed out at the stars, his enhanced vision allowing him to perceive the intricate web of precursor technology that spanned the galaxy. "Whatever comes next," he said, his voice steady and resolute, "we'll face it together." Tara nodded, her hand intertwining with his. As one, they turned their attention to the approaching fleet, ready to confront whatever the universe had in store for them. As they stood united, facing the vast expanse of space, the unknown fleet drew closer, its silhouette growing more distinct against the backdrop of stars. Nicholas activated the pyramid's long-range sensors with a mere thought, his enhanced mind interfacing seamlessly with the ancient technology. Data flooded his consciousness, and he shared it instantly with Tara through their telepathic link. "These ships," Tara breathed, her eyes widening as she processed the information. "They're unlike anything we've ever encountered." The sensors revealed a fleet of biomechanical vessels, a perfect fusion of organic matter and advanced technology. Their hulls pulsed with an eerie, living energy, and their movements were fluid and unpredictable. Nicholas frowned, his enhanced mind racing to analyze the data. "We need more information. Let's see what the precursor network can tell us about these beings." Together, they delved deeper into the vast database of the precursor network. Their consciousness expanded, sifting through eons of accumulated knowledge. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a dark chapter in galactic history. "The Harvesters," Nicholas said, his voice heavy with the weight of newfound knowledge. "An ancient species that consumes entire planets to fuel their empire." Tara's grip on his hand tightened. The precursors fought them long ago, driving them to the edges of the galaxy. But now, "They've returned," Nicholas finished grimly. Recognizing the immense threat posed by the Harvesters, Nicholas and Tara knew they had to act quickly. They focused their enhanced abilities on the pyramid's communication array, preparing to broadcast a warning to the galactic authorities and nearby systems. "This is Captain Nicholas of the Starfire," Nicholas began, his voice resonating with newfound power. "We are transmitting from a precursor installation in the Niad system. An ancient and highly dangerous species known as the Harvesters is approaching our location. They pose an immediate threat to all life in the galaxy. We urge all available forces to mobilize for defense." Tara added her own message, her voice intertwining with Nicholas's. "The Harvesters consume entire planets. They must be stopped. We are activating precursor defenses, but we need reinforcements. Please respond immediately." As their warning echoed across subspace channels, the galactic authorities' initial skepticism quickly gave way to urgent action. Within hours, a diplomatic ship entered the Niad system, carrying representatives from various species, including humans. Nicholas and Tara descended from the orbital pyramid to meet the delegation on the Niad homeworld surface. As they touched down, they saw a familiar face among the group, Admiral Lysander, Nicholas's former commanding officer. Lysander's eyes widened as he took in Nicholas and Tara's altered appearances. "By the stars, what happened to you two?" Before Nicholas could respond, the precursor pyramid's sensors blared a warning. The first wave of Harvester ships had entered the system, and smaller craft were already deploying towards the Niad homeworld. Nicholas's enhanced mind immediately connected with the pyramid's defensive systems. Energy shields sprang to life around the planet and key orbital installations. Beside him, Tara reached out to the Niad's defensive forces, integrating them into their strategy. "Admiral," Nicholas said, his voice calm despite the impending battle, "we need to coordinate our defenses. The Harvesters are here." As if to emphasize his point, the sky lit up with the first exchange of weapons fire. Harvester ships engaged the combined forces of the Niads, the galactic delegation, and the precursor defenses. Nicholas directed the pyramid's energy beams with pinpoint accuracy, tearing through the biomechanical hulls of the Harvester vessels. Tara manipulated energy fields around the enemy ships, disrupting their communications and navigation. In orbit, the Starfire danced between enemy vessels, its precursor enhancements allowing it to outmaneuver the Harvesters with ease. Zorn's expert piloting kept the diplomatic ship safe, showcasing the potential of integrated precursor technology. As the battle intensified, Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of unbreakable spirit. They both knew that conventional tactics alone wouldn't be enough to repel the full Harvester fleet. "We need to take more direct action," Tara said, her eyes glowing with precursor energy. Nicholas nodded, understanding her intent. "We'll attempt to communicate directly with their command ship. It's risky, but it might be our only chance to end this quickly." They positioned themselves at the apex of the pyramid, their bodies beginning to levitate as they channeled immense amounts of precursor energy. The air around them crackled with power as they projected their consciousness towards the approaching Harvester fleet. Their combined mental force breached the defenses of the command ship's organic mainframe. Suddenly, Nicholas and Tara found themselves in a bizarre virtual environment, the collective consciousness of the Harvester intelligence. The alien mind that confronted them was ancient, powerful, and utterly alien. It bore down on them with the weight of countless consumed civilizations, threatening to overwhelm their enhanced intellects. As Nicholas and Tara struggled against the Harvester intelligence, their physical bodies on the pyramid showed signs of immense strain. Energy arced between them, their skin shimmering with fluctuating patterns of light. In space, the battle continued to rage. The galactic delegation, witnessing the awesome power of both the precursor technology and the Harvester threat, began to form an impromptu alliance. Ships from various factions arrived in the system, responding to the distress call and joining the defense. Admiral Lysander, quickly grasping the strategic importance of the precursor pyramid, ordered his forces to form a defensive perimeter around it. The combined fleet engaged the Harvester ships in a desperate bid to buy time for Nicholas and Tara to complete their mental assault on the Harvester command. Inside the virtual battleground of the Harvester's collective consciousness, Nicholas and Tara pushed their enhanced abilities to the limit. They delved deeper into the alien mind, searching for a way to end the invasion. Suddenly, they made a breakthrough. They accessed the core protocols of the Harvester collective, giving them a chance to potentially stop the invasion once and for all. However, as they prepared to alter these fundamental commands, they realized the gravity of their actions. Changing these protocols could have far-reaching consequences, not just for this battle, but for the entire Harvester species. The fate of the conflict, and perhaps the balance of power in the galaxy, now rested in their hands. Nicholas and Tara's physical forms remained suspended above the pyramid, crackling with energy as they grappled with this monumental decision. The space battle raged around them, the outcome hanging in the balance. Whatever choice they made would shape the future of not just the Niad system, but the entire galaxy. Galaxy hung in the balance. In that crucial moment, a surge of energy coursed through Nicholas and Tara's intertwined consciousness. Their eyes snapped open simultaneously, glowing with an otherworldly light. Without a word, they descended rapidly from their suspended position above the pyramid. Their movements were fluid and precise, each step in perfect synchronization as they sprinted toward the control interface. Their fingers danced across the alien controls with inhuman speed and accuracy, their enhanced minds interfacing seamlessly with the ancient technology. The pyramid responded to their commands, its structure shifting and reconfiguring before the eyes of the astonished onlookers. Hidden compartments opened, revealing massive energy cannons that emerged and adjusted their aim towards the Harvester fleet. Nicholas and Tara worked in perfect harmony, their enhanced abilities allowing them to operate the complex precursor weaponry with unprecedented efficiency. As the space battle raged on, Admiral Lysander's voice crackled over the comm system. "The Harvester command ship is breaking formation. It's moving away from the main fleet." Nicholas's enhanced senses detected a surge of energy building within the retreating vessel. "It's a trap," he warned, his voice resonating with urgency. With lightning-fast reflexes, he redirected the pyramid's energy shields to cover the Allied fleet. Moments later, the Harvester command ship unleashed a devastating energy pulse that rippled through space. Several unshielded ships in its path flickered and went dark, but the majority of the Allied fleet remained protected by the precursor shields. Tara's eyes narrowed in concentration as she projected an energy field to capture and contained the remnants of the Harvester pulse. Her mind raced as she analyzed its composition, probing for weaknesses. Suddenly, her eyes widened. "Nicholas, I've found it. A critical flaw in their biomechanical structure." Nicholas nodded, his hands already moving to recalibrate the pyramid's weapon systems. The energy cannons hummed to life, emitting beams of precisely modulated energy that targeted the vulnerable points of the Harvester vessels. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Multiple enemy ships broke apart or lost power, their organic components reacting violently to the specialized attack. In orbit, the Starfire led a squadron of ships in a daring attack run against the Harvester fleet's flanks. Zorn's expert piloting, combined with the precursor enhancements, allowed the ship to weave through enemy formations with impossible agility. Energy beams lanced out from the Starfire, striking with pinpoint accuracy and leaving a trail of disabled Harvester ships in its wake. As the tide of the space battle turned in their favor, Nicholas's attention was suddenly drawn to a new threat. The pyramid's sensors blared a warning, detecting movement on the surface of the Niad homeworld. Harvester drop pods launched earlier in the conflict had begun to hatch. "Tara, we've got ground forces," Nicholas called out, his voice tight with urgency. "Biomechanical troops advancing on Niad population centers." Without hesitation, Nicholas interfaced directly with the precursor technology, activating a network of defense turrets hidden beneath the planet's oceans. The waters churned as massive structures rose from the depths, forming a defensive line against the encroaching Harvester forces. Tara focused her enhanced mind on coordinating the planet's defense. She established a telepathic link with the Niad military leaders, her consciousness expanding to encompass the entire battlefield. Information flowed through her at an unprecedented rate as she guided the defenders to strategic positions. "We need to take more direct action," Nicholas said, his eyes meeting Tara's. She nodded in agreement, understanding his intent without words. They activated the pyramid's transformation protocols, causing the massive structure to reconfigure itself. The pyramid split into multiple segments, each one reshaping into a sleek, highly maneuverable craft imbued with precursor technology. As Nicholas and Tara boarded the lead craft, their bodies now permanently altered to interface directly with the precursor systems, Admiral Lysander's voice came through once more. "The Harvester command ship has changed course. It's on a direct collision course with the Niad homeworld." Nicholas's hands gripped the controls, feeling the pulsing energy of the precursor craft beneath his fingers. "We're on it, Admiral. Launching now to intercept." The newly formed squadron of precursor vessels lifted off, with Nicholas and Tara at the helm of the lead ship. As they accelerated towards the approaching Harvester command ship, the vast expanse of space before them erupted into a chaos of energy beams and explosions. Tara's mind reached out, connecting with the other pilots in their squadron. "Form up on our flanks," she commanded telepathically. "We'll punch through their defenses and take out that command ship." As they rocketed towards their target, the Harvester vessel loomed larger in their view, its biomechanical surface pulsing with malevolent energy. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a determined look, knowing that the fate of the Niad homeworld, and potentially the entire galaxy, rested on the outcome of this final confrontation. Encounter. As they approached the massive Harvester command ship, Nicholas activated the precursor craft's advanced cloaking technology. The squadron of vessels shimmered and vanished from sight, blending seamlessly with the surrounding space. "Cloaking engaged," Nicholas reported, his voice taut with concentration. "We're invisible to their sensors now." Tara nodded, her eyes fixed on the looming biomechanical monstrosity ahead. "Let's hope it's enough to get us close." As they closed in on their target, the battle continued to rage across multiple fronts. On the Niad homeworld surface, the ground assault intensified. Harvester biomechanical troops advanced relentlessly towards key population centers, their grotesque forms a stark contrast to the beautiful aquatic landscapes. The newly activated precursor defense turrets rose from the depths, their massive forms breaking through the ocean's surface with a thunderous roar. Energy beams lanced out from the ancient weapons, tearing through the Harvester ranks with devastating precision. In orbit, Admiral Lysander's voice crackled over the comms. "All ships, Form a defensive perimeter around the planet. We can't let any more Harvester forces breach our lines. The Starfire, piloted by Zorn, led a group of nimble fighters in daring hit-and-run attacks against the Harvester support ships. The enhanced vessel danced between enemy formations, its energy weapons leaving a trail of disabled Harvester craft in its wake. As Nicholas and Tara's cloak squadron neared the command ship, their sensors detected an ominous energy buildup within its core. Tara's eyes widened as she analyzed the data. Nicholas, they're charging some kind of superweapon. If it fires, it could destroy the entire planet. Nicholas's lips pursed as he made a split-second decision. We need to stop it from the inside. Prepare for matter transmission. Before Tara could protest, Nicholas activated the precursor craft's advanced teleportation system. In a flash of brilliant light, they materialized within the Harvester vessel's bioorganic corridors. The interior of the ship was a nightmarish fusion of technology and living tissue. Pulsating walls lined with glowing veins surrounded them, and the air was thick with a sickly, sweet odor. Their enhanced bodies immediately began adapting to the alien environment, skins shimmering with protective energy. We need to find the central chamber, Nicholas whispered, his enhanced senses on high alert for any sign of Harvester drones. They moved swiftly through the twisting passages, the ship's living walls seeming to react to their presence. Meanwhile, on the Niad homeworld, a new threat emerged. A group of Harvester infiltrators breached the defenses of the main Niad city, making a beeline for the planet's primary water purification facility. Zara, a skilled Niad warrior, led a team of special forces to intercept them. They're heading for the purification plant, Zara reported, her voice filled with urgency. If they destroy it, our people won't survive. In space, the Allied fleet faced a renewed Harvester offensive. Energy beams and projectiles crisscrossed the void as ships on both sides suffered critical damage. Admiral Lysander's voice rang out once more. Starfire Squadron, focus on protecting our damaged vessels. All other ships, press the attack on their weakened flanks. Aboard the Harvester command ship, Nicholas and Tara reached the central chamber. The massive bioorganic core pulsed before them, tendrils of biomechanical matter lashing out violently at their approach. Nicholas sprang into action, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge and counterattack with incredible speed. He engaged the tendrils in close combat, his fists glowing with precursor energy as he struck at the alien flesh. Tara focused her efforts on interfacing with the ship's systems, her mind reaching out to disrupt the charging superweapon. The alien technology resisted her efforts, causing visible energy discharges to crackle across her skin. She gritted her teeth against the pain, pushing harder into the Harvester systems. On the planet's surface, Zara and her team confronted the Harvester infiltrators at the water purification facility. The cavernous interior erupted in a fierce firefight, energy weapons illuminating the space in a deadly light show. Zara used her intimate knowledge of the aquatic environment to outmaneuver the enemy, leading her team in a coordinated assault. As the battle raged on multiple fronts, the Harvester command ship began to destabilize. Massive tremors shook the vessel, and alarms blared throughout its organic corridors. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of unyielding commitment, realizing their time was running out. In a desperate move, Nicholas physically connected himself to the ship's bioorganic core. He screamed in agony as the massive energy flow coursed through his precursor-enhanced body, the power threatening to tear him apart from the inside. Tara, witnessing Nicholas's distress, made a split-second decision. She initiated a deep mental link, connecting her consciousness with both Nicholas and the Harvester ship's central intelligence. The three-way connection sent shockwaves of pain through her mind, but it allowed her to help Nicholas manage the overwhelming energy while simultaneously probing the depths of the Harvester's collective knowledge. As the command ship continued to break apart around them, Admiral Lysander's voice came through their comms, distorted by interference. All Allied ships retreat to a safe distance immediately. The Starfire, however, defied these orders. Zorn's voice cut through the chaos. Hang on, Nicholas, Tara. We're coming for you. The precursor-enhanced diplomatic vessel pushed through the debris field, drawing ever closer to the disintegrating Harvester command ship. Inside, Nicholas and Tara remained locked in their desperate struggle, their bodies racked with pain as they fought to contain the building energy and extract vital information from the Harvester consciousness. The fate of the Niad homeworld, the Allied fleet, and perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance as the final moments of this confrontation approached. The command ship's superweapon continued to charge, its power building to catastrophic levels. Nicholas and Tara, their minds and bodies pushed to the absolute limit, knew that their next actions would determine the outcome of this epic struggle. Encounter. Just as Nicholas and Tara's combined efforts reached their peak, the Harvester command ship's core pulsed with an otherworldly energy. The superweapon's charge reached critical levels, but something unexpected occurred. A surge of bioorganic matter erupted from the ship's core, enveloping Nicholas and Tara in a cocoon of writhing tendrils. The material began to merge with their precursor-enhanced bodies, initiating a forced symbiosis. Nicholas felt a searing pain coursing through his veins as the alien matter attempted to assimilate him into the Harvester collective. Tara's mind reeled as she fought against the invasion of her consciousness. "Nicholas!" she called out, her voice strained. "We have to resist. Don't let them erase who we are." Their combined mental link wavered under the assault, but they clung to their sense of self with fierce tenacity. The Harvester collective consciousness, sensing its impending defeat, pushed harder in its last-ditch effort to preserve its existence. Aboard the Starfire, Zorn's enhanced senses detected the anomaly. His hands flew across the control panel, activating the ship's advanced systems. "Hang on, you two," he muttered, maneuvering the vessel closer to the disintegrating Harvester command ship. The Starfire's precursor-enhanced systems hummed to life, creating a stable energy corridor that connected it to the enemy vessel. Zorn initiated the emergency extraction sequence, his face set in grim concentration. As the extraction began, the Harvester ship's structural integrity failed completely. The massive vessel imploded, creating a shockwave that rippled through space with devastating force. The Allied fleet, having retreated to a safe distance, weathered the blast. However, the Starfire, still in close proximity, bore the brunt of the explosion. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems overloaded and hull breaches threatened to tear it apart. Zorn gritted his teeth, using every ounce of his piloting skill to keep the Starfire intact long enough to complete the extraction. In a blinding flash of light, Nicholas and Tara materialized in the Starfire's teleportation chamber. Their bodies were partially merged with Harvester biomatter, a grotesque fusion of human and alien tissue. Dr. Alara, the ship's Niad xenobiologist, rushed into the chamber with her medical team. "Get them to the medbay now," she ordered, her tentacles waving with urgency. The team carefully moved Nicholas and Tara onto hover stretchers, mindful of the pulsating alien matter still clinging to their forms. As they raced through the ship's corridors, the Starfire shuddered from the ongoing damage. Emergency force fields flickered in and out of existence, barely containing the vacuum of space that threatened to claim them all. In the medbay, Dr. Alara and her team worked feverishly, using a combination of precursor technology and advanced medical techniques to stabilize Nicholas and Tara's condition. The doctor's eyes widened as she analyzed the readings from her instruments. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," she murmured, her tentacles deftly manipulating a series of holographic displays. The Harvester biomatter is integrating with their precursor enhancements at a molecular level. Nicholas and Tara lay unconscious on the medical beds, their bodies convulsing as the transformation continued. The Harvester material pulsed with an eerie light, spreading further across their skin with each passing moment. Dr. Alara made a crucial decision. "We can't separate the Harvester material completely," she announced to her team. "We need to focus on stabilizing the integration process while preserving their core identities." As the medical team worked tirelessly, the space battle outside reached its climax. Admiral Lysander's voice crackled over the comms, ordering a final push against the weakened Harvester fleet. The Allied forces pressed their advantage, methodically dismantling the enemy's remaining defenses. The Starfire limped towards the Niad homeworld, its systems barely functioning after the brutal assault. Emergency repair crews were dispatched to assist its landing, guiding the damaged vessel through the planet's atmosphere. Back in the medbay, Dr. Alara made a startling discovery. The forced symbiosis has created a unique hybrid physiology, she explained to her team. They now have direct access to harvester technology and knowledge, while still retaining their individual consciousness and precursor abilities. As if on cue, Nicholas's eyes snapped open. His irises glowed with an otherworldly light as he sat up, his movements unnaturally fluid. "Tara!" he called out, his voice resonating with a strange harmonic quality. Tara stirred on the adjacent bed, her own eyes opening to reveal the same unearthly glow. She turned to Nicholas, a look of wonder and confusion on her face. "I can feel everything," she whispered. Dr. Alar approached them cautiously. "Nicholas, Tara, how do you feel? Can you describe what you're experiencing?" Nicholas flexed his hand, watching as the skin rippled and shifted like living metal. "It's incredible," he said. "I can interface directly with both precursor and harvester systems. The knowledge, it's overwhelming." Tara nodded in agreement. "We have access to technologies and histories spanning millennia," she added. "But it's more than that. We can manipulate matter itself." To demonstrate, Tara focused on a nearby medical instrument. The device began to disassemble itself, its components floating in the air before reassembling into a more advanced version of the original tool. Dr. Alara stepped back, her tentacles curling in a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Fascinating," she breathed. "But we need to run more tests. The long-term effects of your transformation are still unknown." As the Starfire touched down on the Niad homeworld, news of Nicholas and Tara's condition spread quickly. A crowd gathered outside the landing area, a mix of celebration for the victory and anxious murmuring about the two transformed heroes. Admiral Lysander strode into the medbay, his face a mask of concern. "Doctor," he said, addressing Alara, "what's their status?" Before the doctor could respond, Nicholas spoke. "We're stable, Admiral," he said, his voice carrying an authority that made even Lysander pause. "But we understand your concerns. We'll submit to any tests or security measures you deem necessary." Tara nodded in agreement. "Our transformation presents both opportunities and risks," she added. "We're prepared to work with you to explore the full extent of our new abilities." Lysander's eyes narrowed as he studied the two hybrids before him. After a moment of tense silence, he nodded. "Very well," he said. "For now, you'll be confined to a secure research facility here on the Niad homeworld. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." As Nicholas and Tara were escorted from the Starfire, they could feel the weight of countless eyes upon them. The crowd outside parted, a mixture of awe and fear evident on their faces. The two hybrids walked with an inhuman grace, their bodies seeming to flow rather than move in the traditional sense. The secure facility loomed ahead, a gleaming structure of advanced alloys and energy fields. As they approached, Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look, their glowing eyes conveying a silent understanding. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, their shared consciousness bridging the gap between human, precursor, and harvester technologies. The doors of the facility slid open, revealing a team of researchers and security personnel waiting inside. As Nicholas and Tara stepped across the threshold, they knew that their journey was just the beginning. The true test of their new abilities and the galaxy's acceptance of them was only just beginning. The true test of their new abilities and the galaxy's acceptance of them was only just starting. Over the following weeks, Nicholas and Tara underwent rigorous testing and observation within the secure research facility. Dr. Allaire and her team meticulously documented the gradual integration of harvester biomatter with their precursor-enhanced bodies. The process was not without discomfort, as Nicholas and Tara experienced bouts of intense pain and disorientation as their physiology continued to evolve. During one particularly grueling examination, Nicholas felt a sudden jolt coursing through his body. His eyes widened as a flood of alien sensations overwhelmed him. "Dr. Alara," he called out, his voice strained. "Something's happening." The Niad xenobiologist rushed to his side, her tentacles manipulating a series of holographic displays. "Nicholas, your neural patterns are spiking. What are you experiencing?" Nicholas closed his eyes, concentrating on the strange influx of information. I'm hearing voices, harvester communications. It's fragmented, but I can make out coordinates, ship movements. Dr. Alera's eyes widened. It appears you've activated a dormant harvester communication node within your body. This is an unexpected development. Tara, who had been observing from across the room, approached Nicholas. As she placed her hand on his shoulder, their shared consciousness allowed her to access the intercepted transmissions. These are from surviving harvester ships, she said, her voice tinged with urgency. They're scattered across the galaxy, but they're regrouping. The news of Nicholas's newfound ability spread quickly through the Allied leadership. Admiral Lysander himself visited the facility to assess the situation. As he entered the examination room, his stern gaze fell upon Nicholas and Tara. I understand you've made a breakthrough, Lysander said, his voice measured. What exactly can you tell us about these harvester communications? Nicholas straightened, meeting the Admiral's gaze. The transmissions are encrypted, but our hybrid physiology allows us to decode them in real time. We've identified several rally points and potential strongholds. Lysander's expression remained impassive, but a glimmer of interest flickered in his eyes. This could be the advantage we need to neutralize the remaining harvester threats, he mused. After a moment of contemplation, he turned to Dr. Ilara. What's their current status? Are they stable enough for field operations? Dr. Ilara's tentacles curled thoughtfully. Their physiology has largely stabilized, but we're still learning about the full extent of their abilities. Field operations would provide valuable data, but they also carry significant risks. Lysander nodded, then addressed Nicholas and Tara directly. I'm authorizing a covert mission to investigate a potential harvester stronghold in a nearby star system. The Starfire has been repaired and upgraded with salvaged harvester technology. You'll be joining as specialist consultants, with Zorn as mission commander. Tara stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. Admiral, we're ready to serve, but we understand the concerns about our condition. What safeguards will be in place? The Admiral's expression hardened. A fail-safe device will be implanted in both of you. If there's any sign of harvester influence taking control, we can incapacitate you immediately. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look, their shared consciousness conveying a mix of apprehension and persistence. They both nodded their agreement. The following days were a flurry of activity as the Starfire was prepared for its mission. Nicholas and Tara spent hours in the ship's newly upgraded systems, marveling at how easily they interfaced with the harvester-derived technology. As the day of departure arrived, a tense atmosphere permeated the launch bay. Allied leaders and curious onlookers gathered to witness the Starfire's send-off. Nicholas and Tara boarded the ship, acutely aware of the wary glances cast their way. Zorn greeted them at the airlock, his expression a mix of concern and excitement. Welcome aboard, he said, leading them to the bridge. I hope you're ready for this. We're about to dive into unknown territory. The Starfire lifted off smoothly, its enhanced engines humming with power. As they cleared the Niad atmosphere, Nicholas felt a familiar tingle at the base of his skull. He closed his eyes, focusing on the faint harvester transmissions. I'm picking up chatter, he announced, coordinates coming through. It's a remote planet, likely housing a hidden harvester base. Tara moved to the navigation console, her fingers dancing across the controls with inhuman speed. Course plotted, she said, activating stealth systems. As the Starfire entered hyperspace, Nicholas and Tara felt a surge of anticipation. Their first true test as hybrids lay ahead, and the destiny of the universe hung in the balance. The ship hurtled through the void, carrying them towards an uncertain confrontation with the very beings whose essence now coursed through their veins. Veins. The Starfire emerged from hyperspace with a burst of light, the alien planet looming before them. Sensors detecting multiple harvester signatures, Zorn announced, his hands flying over the control panel. One massive ship in high orbit and a facility on the surface. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a glance, their hybrid senses already picking up faint harvester transmissions. The base is heavily fortified, Nicholas said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. But I'm detecting life signs that don't match harvester patterns, potential captives or slaves. Tara's eyes glowed as she processed the information. We need to liberate them, she said firmly. Zorn nodded, his expression grim. Agreed. We'll need to split our focus. Nicholas, Tara, you'll lead a team to infiltrate the ground facility. I'll keep the Starfire in orbit to draw the attention of the Harvester ship. As the Starfire descended through the planet's atmosphere, cloaking systems engaged, Nicholas and Tara prepared for their mission. Their hybrid bodies thrummed with energy, Harvester and precursor technologies merging seamlessly within them. The ground team deployed silently, using advanced stealth technology to approach the Harvester facility. Nicholas and Tara moved with inhuman grace, their senses alert for any sign of detection. Inside the facility, they encountered a nightmarish scene. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each containing a captive from various species. Nicholas interfaced with the Harvester's systems, his mind racing through alien algorithms. I can deactivate the stasis fields, he said, his voice tight with concentration. Tara, be ready to stabilize them as they wake. With a thought, Nicholas triggered the release sequence. The pods hissed open, and disoriented captives began to stir. Tara moved among them, her hybrid abilities allowing her to soothe their minds and bodies. One of the freed captives, a slender, blue-skinned humanoid, approached them. I am Lyra, she said, her voice melodic despite her obvious exhaustion. Thank you for freeing us, but we must hurry. The Harvesters will soon detect our escape. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Nicholas's eyes widened as he processed the incoming Harvester communications. The ship in orbit is descending, he warned. They're coming for us. Zorn's voice crackled over their comms. I see it. That thing's massive. Get those people to the extraction point now. We'll hold off the Harvester ship as long as we can. Nicholas, Tara, and the ground team hurried to evacuate the freed captives. As they reached the extraction point, the sky darkened with the approach of the colossal Harvester vessel. The Starfire swooped low, its cargo bay opening to receive the escapees. Nicholas and Tara used their hybrid abilities to create an energy barrier, shielding the evacuees from Harvester weapons fire as they boarded. With the last of the captives safely aboard, Nicholas and Tara leapt onto the Starfire's loading ramp. As it retracted, they felt the ship lurch upward, straining against the planet's gravity. Harvester's ship is in pursuit. Zorn's voice rang out over the ship's speakers. All hands, prepare for combat. Nicholas and Tara raced to the bridge, their hybrid physiology allowing them to interface directly with the ship's systems. As they connected, they felt the Starfire's power surge through them. The massive Harvester ship emerged from the planet's atmosphere, its bioorganic form pulsing with malevolent energy. The Starfire's crew sprang into action, each member utilizing their unique abilities to face the overwhelming threat. Nicholas channeled his connection to Harvester technology, predicting the enemy's attack patterns. Evasive maneuvers, 30 degrees port, he called out. Zorn responded instantly, the Starfire narrowly avoiding a barrage of bioprojectiles. Tara focused on strengthening the ship's energy shields, her mind merging with the defensive systems. The Harvester weapons impacted against the reinforced barriers, dissipating in flashes of light. As the space battle intensified, Lyra approached Nicholas and Tara on the bridge. My people have a natural ability to disrupt Harvester communications, she explained quickly. If we combine that with your hybrid physiology, we might be able to create a counter-signal powerful enough to disable their ship. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look, their shared consciousness quickly processing the possibilities. It's worth a try, Nicholas said. What do you need? Working swiftly, they assembled a makeshift device, integrating precursor technology with components that resonated with Lyra's unique biology. Nicholas and Tara connected themselves to the device, channeling their hybrid energy through its circuits. Ready, Tara announced, her voice strained with concentration. Zorn nodded grimly. Activating now, brace for impact. A pulse of disruptive energy burst from the Starfire, striking the Harvester vessel. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Sections of the massive ship went dark, its bioorganic components writhing in apparent distress. It's working, Hangar, Lyra exclaimed, her eyes wide with amazement. Seizing the opportunity, Zorn maneuvered the Starfire into an attack position. All weapons, fire at will, he ordered. The Starfire's weapons, now augmented by Harvester technology, unleashed a devastating assault on the crippled vessel. Explosions bloomed across its surface as critical systems failed. Suddenly, Nicholas stiffened, his hybrid senses detecting a surge of energy within the enemy ship. "It's going to self-destruct," he warned. "We need to get out of here, now!" Zorn didn't hesitate. The Starfire's engines flared to life, propelling the ship away from the doomed Harvester vessel. Moments later, a blinding explosion lit up space behind them, the shock wave buffeting the Starfire as it fled. As the immediate danger passed, Nicholas and Tara suddenly doubled over in pain. Their hybrid bodies began to emit pulses of energy, their control over their abilities fluctuating wildly. "What's happening to them?" Lyra asked, her voice filled with concern. Zorn quickly opened a communication channel to the Niad homeworld. Dr. Alara's holographic form appeared, her tentacles waving in agitation as she assessed the situation. "The intense use of their hybrid abilities has triggered an accelerated integration process," Dr. Alara explained. "They need immediate stabilization treatment to prevent cellular breakdown." Zorn's expression hardened with drive. "Understood. We're cutting the mission short and returning to Allied space immediately. Prepare for our arrival." As the Starfire prepared for the jump to hyperspace, Nicholas and Tara were carefully placed into medical stasis pods. The ship hummed with tension as it began its journey home, carrying its hybrid heroes and the newly liberated captives towards an uncertain future. As the Starfire raced back to Allied space, Nicholas and Tara lay motionless in their stasis pods, their hybrid bodies pulsing with erratic energy. The ship's medical bay hummed with activity as Dr. Ilara's holographic form directed the emergency treatment preparations. Upon landing, a team of specialized medical personnel rushed Nicholas and Tara to a secure facility. Dr. Alara's tentacles worked with precision, adjusting equipment and monitoring vital signs as she began the delicate process of stabilizing their hybrid physiology. "Their cellular structure is destabilizing at an alarming rate," Dr. Alara announced, her voice tense. "We need to integrate Lyra's unique biological properties into the treatment immediately." Lyra stepped forward, her blue skin shimmering under the harsh medical lights. "I'm ready. What do you need me to do?" For hours, the medical team worked tirelessly, combining cutting-edge technology with Lyra's natural abilities. Nicholas and Tara's bodies convulsed as waves of energy coursed through them, their hybrid nature fighting against itself. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the energy pulses began to subside. Nicholas's eyes fluttered open, his skin now bearing a distinct metallic sheen. Beside him, Tara regained consciousness, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "How do you feel?" Dr. Alara asked, her tentacles gently probing their vital signs. Nicholas sat up slowly, flexing his fingers. "Different," he said, his voice carrying a slight metallic resonance. "But stable, in control." Tara nodded in agreement, her luminous eyes scanning the room. "The Harvester influence feels muted, manageable." Dr. Alara's holographic form shimmered with relief. The treatment was successful, but it has resulted in further physical changes. "We'll need to run more tests to fully understand the implications." Before they could delve deeper into their new condition, Admiral Lysander entered the medical bay, his expression grave. "I'm glad to see you both conscious," he said, "but we have urgent matters to discuss. The Allied leaders have finalized plans for the assault on the Harvester stronghold." Nicholas and Tara exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness quickly processing the implications. "We're ready, Admiral," Tara said, her glowing eyes fixed on Lysander. The Admiral nodded, leading them to a secure briefing room. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing the layout of a heavily fortified planet deep within Harvester territory. "This is our target," Lysander explained. "The heart of Harvester operations in this sector. Our plan involves a multi-pronged attack, with you two playing a crucial role in disabling the stronghold's defenses." As the briefing continued, Nicholas and Tara absorbed the details with their enhanced mental capabilities. They would be part of a strike team, led by Zorn on the Starfire, tasked with penetrating the planet's defenses and infiltrating the stronghold itself. The following days were a blur of preparation. Nicholas and Tara worked closely with Lyra, refining their ability to disrupt harvester systems. They developed a powerful jamming device that integrated their hybrid physiology with Lyra's natural talents. As the Allied fleet prepared to depart, tension filled the air. Ships of various designs and origins assembled, united against the common threat. The Starfire, now equipped with advanced stealth technology, took its place at the forefront of the assault force. Zorn greeted Nicholas and Tara as they boarded, his eyes widening slightly at their altered appearances. "Ready for this?" he asked, his voice a mix of concern and perseverance. Nicholas nodded, his metallic skin gleaming. "As ready as we'll ever be." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, the stars blurring into streaks of light. As they traveled, Nicholas and Tara spent their time fine-tuning their hybrid abilities, preparing for the challenges ahead. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. They had arrived at their destination, and the sensors were lit up with enemy contacts. The Harvester Defense Force was massive, a swarm of bioorganic ships filling the space around the target planet. "All ships, engage!" Admiral Lysander's voice rang out over the comms. The space around them erupted into chaos. Energy weapons and bioprojectiles crisscrossed the void, ships on both sides exploding in silent bursts of light. Zorn's hands flew over the Starfire's controls, weaving through the battle with incredible skill. "Hang on!" he shouted as they dove towards the planet's surface. Nicholas connected to the ship's systems, his hybrid senses extending outward. He detected the activation of the planet's anti-aircraft defenses and quickly moved to counteract them. "Jamming their targeting systems," he announced, his voice strained with concentration. The Starfire shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Energy bolts from the surface defenses barely missing them. Tara joined her consciousness with Nicholas's, amplifying their disruptive effect on the Harvester technology. With a bone-jarring impact, the Starfire landed near the stronghold's main entrance. Zorn's voice cut through the ship's speakers. "Strike team, deploy!" Nicholas and Tara led the charge, their hybrid bodies moving with inhuman speed and grace. Lyra followed close behind, her natural abilities creating a disruptive field around them. Waves of Harvester defense drones swarmed towards them, their biomechanical forms twisted and menacing. Nicholas reached out with his mind, turning several drones against their comrades. Tara created energy barriers, deflecting incoming fire. As they fought their way through the Harvester defenses, the full extent of their new abilities became apparent. Nicholas's metallic skin deflected energy blasts, while Tara's glowing eyes seemed to pierce through Harvester cloaking fields. Finally, they reached the entrance to the Stronghold's central control room. The massive doors pulsed with malevolent energy, resisting their attempts to breach them. "Together," Nicholas said, looking at Tara and Lyra. They combined their abilities, Nicholas and Tara channeling their hybrid energy through the jamming device, while Lyra amplified its effect. The doors shuddered and then slowly began to part. As the control room was revealed, they came face to face with the Harvester Overlord. The massive bioorganic entity filled the chamber, pulsing tendrils connecting it to every system in the stronghold. The Overlord's psychic presence slammed into them like a physical force. Nicholas and Tara staggered, feeling the entity attempting to assert control over their hybrid physiology. "Hold on!" Lyra shouted, her body glowing with an intense blue light. She projected a protective field around Nicholas and Tara's minds, giving them the opportunity to regain their mental footing. With renewed focus, Nicholas and Tara launched a counterattack. They poured their hybrid energy into the stronghold systems, triggering cascading failures throughout the Harvester network. The Overlord writhed in agony, its control over the facility weakening. As its influence waned, Nicholas and Tara pressed their advantage, systematically shutting down Harvester systems across the galaxy. Suddenly, the Overlord's form began to lose cohesion. Its pulsing tendrils retracted, and the malevolent glow in its eyes flickered and died. As the dust settled, Nicholas, Tara, and Lyra stood in stunned silence. The heart of the Harvester threat had been neutralized, but the implications of their victory were yet to be fully realized. They began to secure the control room, accessing the vast repository of assimilated knowledge from countless civilizations. The sheer volume of information was staggering, containing advanced technologies and historical records long thought lost. As they worked, Admiral Lysander's voice crackled over their comms. "Strike team, report. What's your status?" Nicholas looked at Tara, her glowing eyes reflecting the mix of triumph and uncertainty he felt. "Mission accomplished, Admiral," he replied. "The Harvester Overlord has been neutralized, but we've uncovered something incredible." Lysander's response was immediate. "Secure everything. I'm on my way to assess the situation personally." As they waited for the Admiral's arrival, Nicholas and Tara found themselves at a crossroads. Their hybrid nature had proven decisive in defeating the Harvester threat, but it also set them apart from both humans and aliens. The question of their place in the post-war galaxy loomed large in their minds. Lyra approached them, her expression one of understanding. "I know you must have many questions about your future," she said softly. "My people might be able to help you manage your hybrid nature. Perhaps even reverse it, if that's what you want." Before they could respond, the doors to the control room slid open. Admiral Lysander entered, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. His gaze lingered on Nicholas and Tara, noting their further transformed appearances. "Well done," he said, his voice carrying a mix of admiration and concern. "But it seems we have much to discuss about what happens next." As Lysander began to examine the recovered data, a subtle tension filled the air. The victory over the Harvesters had opened up a new realm of possibilities, but it had also raised complex ethical questions about the use of the knowledge they had acquired. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness grappling with the weight of their actions and the uncertainty of their future. The immediate threat had been neutralized, but they sensed that their journey was a long way to go. Suddenly, a communication channel opened, and a holographic figure appeared in the center of the room. The newcomer's eyes gleamed with terrifying excitement as they surveyed the scene. "Fascinating," the figure said, their voice carrying a note of intense curiosity. "I am Dr. Morrigan, and I believe we have much to discuss regarding the potential of your unique physiology." Nicholas and Tara listened intently as Dr. Morrigan began to outline a controversial research proposal, their hybrid minds racing to process the implications of this new development. Nicholas and Tara listened intently as Dr. Morrigan outlined her controversial research proposal. The holographic figure's eyes gleamed with an intensity that made them both uneasy. "Your hybrid physiology presents a unique opportunity," Dr. Morrigan explained, her voice filled with barely suppressed excitement. "With further experimentation, we could unlock unprecedented advancements in biotechnology and cybernetics." Nicholas and Tara exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness grappling with the implications of Dr. Morrigan's words. The potential benefits were clear, but so were the risks. "We appreciate your interest, Dr. Morrigan," Tara said carefully, her luminous eyes fixed on the hologram. "But we need time to consider your proposal and consult with our allies." Dr. Morrigan's hologram flickered slightly, a hint of disappointment crossing her face. "Of course, I await your decision with great anticipation." As the transmission ended, Admiral Lysander stepped forward. "I suggest we discuss this matter thoroughly before making any commitments," he said, his expression grave. Nicholas nodded in agreement. "We should convene a meeting with our trusted allies. Zorn, Dr. Ilara, and Lyra need to be part of this conversation." Within hours, they gathered in a secure conference room aboard the flagship. The atmosphere was tense as they debated the merits and dangers of Dr. Morrigan's proposal. Zorn leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as he focused on Nicholas and Tara. "You've already been through so much. Are you sure you want to risk further alterations to your physiology?" Before they could respond, an urgent alert interrupted the discussion. A communications officer burst into the room, her face pale with urgency. "Admiral, we've detected a distress signal from an unexplored sector," she reported breathlessly. "It's coming from a planet we thought was uninhabited." Lysander's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main display flickered to life, showing a distant star system. A pulsing red dot indicated the source of the signal, emanating from a planet that had previously been marked as devoid of life. "How is this possible?" Dr. Ilara asked, her tentacles waving in agitation. Our scans showed no signs of habitation. Lyra stepped closer to the screen, her blue skin shimmering under the harsh light. Perhaps they found a way to hide from the harvesters, just as my people did. Nicholas and Tara shared a look of understanding. This discovery could change everything. Admiral, Nicholas said, his voice carrying a slight metallic resonance, we volunteer to lead a mission to investigate this signal. Lysander nodded, his expression a mix of concern and dedication. Very well. Take the Starfire and a small team of specialists. But be cautious. We don't know what you'll find out there. Within hours, the Starfire was prepped for departure. Zorn took his place at the helm, with Lyra and a hand-picked team of experts joining Nicholas and Tara for the mission. As they approached the mysterious planet, the ship's sensors detected unusual energy signatures. Tara's glowing eyes widened as she analyzed the data. These readings, they're unlike anything I've seen before, she murmured. It's as if precursor and harvester technologies have been combined in ways we never imagined. The Starfire entered the planet's atmosphere, navigating through dense cloud cover. As they broke through, a breathtaking sight greeted them. The surface was a tapestry of lush forests and crystalline lakes, but it was what lay beneath that truly astonished them. Massive underground structures sprawled beneath the planet's crust, their architecture a seamless blend of organic and synthetic design. As the Starfire touched down in a clearing, a hidden entrance irised open in the nearby hillside. Nicholas and Tara led the team towards the entrance, their hybrid senses on high alert. As they stepped into the underground city, they were greeted by a sight that defied explanation. The inhabitants moved with fluid grace, their bodies a harmonious fusion of flesh, metal, and energy. One of them stepped forward, his skin shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. Welcome, the being said, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. We are the Cynthians, descendants of a long-lost expedition that dared to merge human, alien, and synthetic life forms. We have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Nicholas and Tara stood in awe, realizing that they had stumbled upon a civilization that could hold the key to their future, and perhaps the future of the entire galaxy. The Cynthian leader, introducing himself as Zephyr, guided them through the vast underground metropolis. As they walked, he explained the history of their people and the advanced technologies they had developed in secret. We've been monitoring galactic events, Zephyr said, leading them into a chamber filled with holographic displays. We know of your struggle against the harvesters, and we believe we can help. Tara's eyes widened as she absorbed the information displayed around them. This is incredible, she breathed. Your understanding of hybrid biology far surpasses anything we've encountered. Zephyr nodded, a smile playing on his luminescent features. We've developed a process that could stabilize your hybrid physiology while preserving your enhanced abilities. Moreover, this technology could be adapted to heal worlds damaged by harvester assimilation. Nicholas and Tara exchanged a look of excitement and apprehension. The potential of this discovery was staggering, but it also meant making a decision that would impact not only their lives, but potentially the entire galaxy. As they contemplated the implications of Zephyr's offer, the chamber's displays shifted, showing real-time data from across the galaxy. The aftermath of the Harvester invasion was clear. Countless worlds lay in ruin, their ecosystems devastated and populations scattered. The choice is yours, Zephyr said softly, his gaze meeting Nicholas and Tara's. But know that if you decide to undergo our procedure, you could become the key to healing not just yourselves, but countless worlds across the galaxy. The weight of the moment settled upon them, and Nicholas reached out to take Tara's hand. Their shared consciousness buzzed with a mix of anticipation and grit. They stood on the precipice of a decision that would shape the future of their existence and potentially change the course of galactic history.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.